Somebody's toilet. I can hear it.
No, it's
That's
me.
not a toilet. That's a bottle.
I'm pouring some drink because you guys made me thirsty.
Well, apparently our show started a little early tonight. I was trying to fumble with the buttons here, but this is the CantinaMX podcast. And thank you guys very much for joining us. We are live on YouTube here on Wednesday night, around between 9:50 and 9:30 Central. Every Wednesday, you can catch another edition of the CantinaMX podcast. And of course, you can download this and other editions on iTunes. My name is John Jagu. Thank you very much again for joining us. We do have a good show lined up for you guys this week, as we always do. We have, again, a distinguished panel of guests. We have a special guest with us tonight. So we will be jumping into our special guest as well. But thank you guys again for joining us. Go ahead and introduce the panel with us tonight over in Kyle, Texas, which is about 40 miles from where I am right here in Lakeway, Texas. We have our technical director, the man who knows how to push all the buttons and make sure that we appear live. Talking to Albert at Chiquis Campa. Albert, how are you?
Hey, John. How's it going? How's it going?
You as the crazy cat lady, you had a rough week with your kitty cats last week, Chiquis. All of them lost.
Oh yeah, the glorious Jaguares lost their streak.
And Pumas lost.
Pumas.
And Tigres lost.
Yep, sad time.
Does that mean that they're so? So what does that do for Camigatos? I mean, when all three of them. I mean, what
Just hide in
what
the
state
corner.
of depression does the Camigatos go into when that happens?
Hide in the corner, maybe scratch up the curtains.
I thought you would go to choose a perro. Go from cat to dog.
Got the dog.
Yeah, well, we do have perros in the Liga MX, which we'll get into here. Well, Chiquis, it's always good to have you on, man.
Yeah.
Over in Escondido, California, we have with us a gentleman who I'm assuming is enjoying his Irish whiskey.
Indeed, I am.
And enjoying the resurgence of his Santos. How are you, Daniel Preciado?
I'm good. Good, John. Evening, guys. Yeah, happy that the team is still undefeated, but we dropped 2 points.
Well, they did.
So that was not great.
But I think that both teams showed enough in that game to, I think fans of both should be a little bit more optimistic, though, especially Cruz Azul. I think that they're starting to come around a little bit, and Santos is going to be glad that they caught him.
Well, I'm trying to build a championship run here. So I already said we're going to make the EF no sweat, but
so you've gone from sweat and relegation to now we're going to win the championship in a span of 3 weeks.
I'm just hopeful. I'm just hopeful that maybe they could go on a run. That's all.
Well,
not expecting it.
I'm not surprised at all. Santos, traditionally, at least over the past 20 years, has been very consistent. So I don't think it would be surprising at all to see them back, as I'm sure where you think back where they belong.
Exactly. Yeah, and now we're producing talent too. So it's not like they're just buying good players and plugging them in. They're actually nurturing their own. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were a couple of guys that actually I really enjoyed watching, because I did get to watch. That was the only game I really got to watch the full 90 of was the Santos game. It was against Cruz Azul. So it was enjoyable. A gentleman who was very happy with the results of what happened over the weekend with his wrong team, wrong button. Sorry about that, Fernando. With Monterrey winning, they beat my Pumas 2-0. It probably should have been more. It was as emphatic a win as we've seen in a while from them. So congratulations to you, Fernando, for the big win.
Thank you, sir. That's the reason why I came in today, just to make sure that you watch that game. Thank you.
I didn't get to watch it. I was actually driving back from a little outpost here in Texas called Stephenville, and was having a hard time keeping up with anything because I was, literally in the deadest part of the state. But we digress. Fernando, your boys win 2-0. Is it now? Are you upset because I know that you want your boy Mohammed out? So does this prolong the inevitable, or do you think that this changes? Does this change things?
No, you know what? I still think the same way, but they're gonna be teams that are beneath us, so it's okay. This is expected. So this is an expected result. So I still haven't changed my mind.
Now, when you say beneath you, what exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, the course of this tournament,
Teams of lesser quality or teams of lesser standing in the.
No, you can interpret as whichever you think.
Well, that's, I'm asking you to interpret.
Oh, well, that's not. Well, I'm just saying that this season, the Monterrey is pretty high up in the standings, above Pumas. Therefore, I'm pretty sure that was pretty clear in the beginning. I don't know. Did you take offense to that? I'm sorry.
I'm not taking offense at all. I'm just
Just
honestly,
checking.
I'm just trying to put you in a corner. But you came out of it very nicely. But no, Fernando, your team did well. I mean, but seriously, I mean the fact it's only a matter of time for a team like that to get going, and when they do, obviously, they're going to be a very, very dangerous team. So, obviously for fans of Liga MX, we would want to see the good teams do well, and Monterrey is obviously a good team, and we want them to do well because it makes the league look better. So, thank you for joining us, Fernando, and I guess we'll talk to you next week. No, I'm kidding. We'll continue. Out in South Los Angeles, we have with us a gentleman who I'm sure would be very happy if he got to gloat a little bit about his Chivas winning the Clasico Tapatio. But Joel, I was asking you earlier in the week, of course I'm talking to Joel Aceves in California. I mean, seriously, is it even on your radar anymore, the Clasico Tapatio?
Yeah, I don't even know why they consider it a derby. Atlas hasn't done anything in like 100 years, John. If I'm Chivas at this point, I'd rather wait for Tecos or Leones Negros to come back and start a more meaningful rivalry right there.
Those are some harsh words. And I wish I had an Atlas fan to but I mean, seriously,
Are there? I never met an Atlas fan.
Victor
maybe I'm wrong here
Villalba.
though, Joel, but isn't it seems like Chivas is. Well, they produce players, but my point is that I was going to say is, doesn't it seem like that seem like a more worthy derby now that Chivas isn't winning anything either?
Chivas, hey, we won Copa MX and Super Copa MX, and we won the Titans Cup. We just beat Boca Juniors for the Titans of the Continent Cup.
And they had the little big air guys, and they popped the confetti and the whole bit, right? Did they take the trophy down to? Did they have a parade with it on the bus the next day, Joel?
Right there, went to Minerva.
Yeah, they go to Minerva.
Three trophies there. We have to extend the cabinet, make room for that.
That's right. The third trophy of the 21st century.
I thought you guys should.
Yeah.
You guys should be, getting ready for that Copa MX Campeonísimo, man. Come on, man. Get it going.
I don't think the one Copa MX makes a Campeonísimo, but that's all right.
Speaking of, they're playing Venados right now.
It's 0-0 in the 25th minute, and I was asking you, and again, another probing Chivas question. When this game is on, who does Alberto Medina root for?
He's still at Chivas, John.
He's still there?
No, he's still playing. I forgot the club, but that guy is from the Cantera, man.
So you're saying he's rayado through and through, it won't ever change?
Yeah. Chiva de corazón, man.
Just like Massa Rodriguez, right?
He's one too, but they didn't treat him good. The directiva. No. They didn't treat none of the players good. None of the ones that left never came back because they didn't do anything to bring them back.
Now, hopefully your Chivas compatriot will join the call a little bit later, so you guys can do another 20-second deep dive of Chivas player personnel. Joel, always good to have you on, man.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
A pleasure. And now I'll introduce our special guest, the gentleman who is the English language voice of the Azteca America broadcasts in San Diego. Also writes for SoccerNation.com among some other websites. Of course, I'm talking about Nate Aburrea, El Vasco.
The second attempt was spot on there. If you fail once, try again there. Aburrea, yeah, we're gonna have to do a Basque language lesson here on the CantinaMX podcast.
Aburrea.
There you go.
Yeah. Aburrea.
See, once he knew it was Basque, now it just slips right off the tongue. There you go.
Aburrea. See, if I was trying to gringofy it, so that's why it was. But if I'd have just known to pronounce it in Spanish, I would have had no problem at all.
We just need to keep it to Monterey, John. Your gringoisms.
Monterey. Can you believe that, Nate? I get in trouble here on the podcast when I say Monterrey and I say Monterey. And it's just that because my family lived there when I was really young, or I guess they moved to Mexico. I had moved back, so they said Monterey my entire life. So just something that just stuck with me. But apparently it's a terrible thing to say.
Every time, like you that you say Monterey or whatever, such dishonorable way of saying that, just burn yourself a little bit in your skin, so that way you remember every time.
Does Victor Manuel Vucetich lose a year of his life every time I say it?
Well, I'll tell you something here. It's funny because someone saying Monterey doesn't actually really get to me too much. There's somebody could just say Pachuca and just kind of put a gringo accent on anything, and it doesn't really bother me too much. The one thing that actually is the ultimate pet peeve is not a gringoification of any sorts. It's just people adding a letter that doesn't exist in the name Tijuana. So commonly we have people who say Tia Juana, and it is nobody's aunt. It is a T and a Juana. And you can say it in any accent that you like. So if we're talking mispronunciations in the world of Mexican soccer, and we're talking about ones that maybe ruffle some feathers of the folks here on this panel, that is mine. And I have to give credit where credit's due to the mayor of San Diego, Mr. Kevin Faulkner, who in the most gringo of gringo voices every time says it just like this: Tijuana.
Oh, nice.
Tijuana. Cheers, Kevin Faulkner.
That is good to hear. Now, obviously, Xolos has a symbiotic relationship with the San Diego, with the closeness that the cities, they occupy. It's like the metropolitan area. When they won the title back in, was it 2011? Xolos did. It made the front pages of the San Diego paper, which I always thought was very interesting. So my question to you is just how popular are Xolos in San Diego?
Yeah, it was the 2012 season. Actually, it was the 2012 Apertura when Xolos won the championship, and I actually hadn't moved down to San Diego at that point. I was still living up in Northern California, and it was funny. I actually have a crazy backstory of following León during much of my childhood. So my first introduction to Xolos and Liga MX was actually not a good one. That famous semifinal against León in that 2012 Apertura where they came back from 2-0 down. But since moving down here and studying the history of that, and I encourage everybody to check out a fabulous documentary that came out recently called Club Frontera. I know there's been a number of other just great pieces of writing and all sorts of good stuff about what that championship meant for not only the people of TJ, but for the people of SD. And you're talking about a city that has one of the biggest collective championship droughts in American sports, and obviously with the San Diego Chargers leaving up to Los Angeles here a few weeks ago, and all that entails. But whether it was the Chargers in their 50 plus years here in San Diego, whether it's the Padres on the baseball diamond going back to the old San Diego Clippers of the NBA, nobody has ever won a championship in a major American sports league here in the city of San Diego. So from everything that I've studied and everybody I've talked to on both sides of the border, but in particular here in SD, where I'm sitting and talking to you right now, there was this sense of, as soon as the championship was won, I mean, that was the authentication process just put into rapid speed. That was, they're definitely a San Diego team now. They got us a championship. Let's go. And one of my favorite stats of all, John, is 27,000 people, 27,333 packing Estadio Caliente for every Friday night home game in Liga MX play, and on average 8,000 plus are coming from the American side of the border and going home. I mean, that's the thing that you have to get down here and see.
It's the happiest place on earth, Tijuana.
Krusty's got to work. Krusty's got to work on his pronunciation right there.
Absolutely,
that's what I'm talking about.
That is pretty amazing.
But no, that's
people.
when you talk about, John,
8,000 people.
8,000 people. That's fascinating to me, and that was one of the first things that jumped out to me. And when I hear what the motto of Sin Fronteras and what football without borders means, I mean, it's epitomized in that statistic right there. And absolutely, Cholos are a San Diego team, and when you look on a deeper level too, the symbolism of a man by the name of Joe Corona scored the first top flight goal for Cholos after promotion in 2011. That's a National City, San Diego County native. When you got Paul Arriola out there just wreaking havoc up and down the right wing with those runs of his and doing as well as he's doing here this season, that's another San Diego native. I mean, it's an amazing connection between these two cities, and one of the most unique existences as far as geography goes for me that I've ever seen in North America, or really around the world for that matter.
Quick question on that though. On that 8,000, how many of those are non-Mexican, non-Pocho American to go to that game? To go to the games and
real nice, Beto. Real nice.
No, that is a serious.
It's a very serious question, and it's something that I think is growing with time. I'm not going to put any specific number to that question. I'll just say that the heavy majority are Latinos coming from San Diego. There's people who come all the way. Why I phrase it, people coming from the northern side of the border. There's people who come down from LA for home games. I mean, people who fell in love with what Cholos were and still are after 10 years of existence since the founding in 2007. And so I would definitely say that the heavy majority are Latinos coming from the American side of the border. However, there's a man by the name of Marty, who is known as the famous Gringo Cholo. He's had a number of documentary pieces made about him. The good folks over at Kick TV, or I should call them Kick now, made a great piece on Marty. Univision San Diego and Univision Tijuana have both some fantastic pieces on Marty. Check out the Gringo Cholo and everything he's trying to do. And I love what Marty talks about. It's just a white skinned surfer dude from Mission Beach, San Diego, saying, hey, the more white-skinned folk that can go down to these games and show that we can, the more that does in the face of what we're being faced with in this country right now, and a lot of people being not necessarily all too enthusiastic about unity right now in the face of a lot of tyrannical fear down here on this border. And so the more people, to put it as frank as possible here, the more people of Anglo backgrounds, the more lighter skinned gringo English speaking folk that go down to Cholos games, the more that does for positive USA-Mexico relations, and specifically for where I'm at right now and where we're at in this city, for the relationship between San Diego and Tijuana, which is a fascinating one, as we've already talked quite a bit about.
Would you consider Cholos to be more popular than the Padres in San Diego, or is there no chance?
I don't know, but I would give that kind of an apples and oranges, John. I wouldn't necessarily say more popular than anything, or less popular than anything. They're definitely here. They've definitely made a footprint, and I have to say, this is not to be too harsh on any of the other aspects of all the other efforts that Cholos have put in to be a staple here in the San Diego community, but the number one thing that made them popular in San Diego was winning a championship in their first year in the top flight. I mean, it's amazing what winning does. And, with that was the ultimate blessing. And they built on that championship there. It's funny you bring up the Padres, because actually every year the Padres put on a really cool event here at Petco Park. And it's something similar. I haven't seen this around too many other cities around America. I grew up with it up in the Bay Area, where the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland A's would do stuff like this all the time, where they'd have the Raiders, Niners, Warriors, and Sharks mascots would all come for an annual Bay Area sports day and have this whole extravaganza at the ballpark. And the Padres do something very similar. And you have, it's fascinating for me seeing this, where at that event every year is the Cholo Mayor. I mean, the mascot of Cholos is at home plate running the bases at Petco Park, and he's out there the same as the Padres mascot and the San Diego State Aztecs football program, and basically just being a part of the sporting scene of San Diego. So no, the club is here, and the 10-year anniversary was just celebrated, and I feel like there's a lot more work to be done, and a lot more work that is going to be done. And I know where we're going to eventually go with this conversation in terms of Cholos being, really someone who provided the impetus in a lot of ways for English language coverage. And I'm someone who's lucky enough to call games for Club Tijuana in English. And now I ain't the only one calling Liga MX games. We ain't the only one calling Liga MX games in English. So now it's kind of like, hey, everybody else, the giants around everywhere else have been woken up, and it's time for Tijuana and San Diego to up their game even more.
Well, sure. And of course, you're referring to the news that Univision announced that they were going to be broadcasting English language broadcasts of the Liga MX games on Facebook Live. Now, again, but this isn't the first time that this happened, because ESPN did this 2 or 3 years ago. I forget exactly what year it was, where they did it, where they broadcast some of the Azteca games, the Azteca games on ESPN News and occasionally ESPN2, but they barely promoted it. They just happened to have them on.
You're right, John. I was actually gonna to comment about that, because I do recall a couple years back, hearing Liga MX games in English, but they didn't really advertise anything or promote it.
It was almost like they were contractually obligated to carry them, because they got the
right,
rights
and there
to the
was
national
Fox
teams.
Sports, Fox Soccer Channel, and going back to the Fox Sports World days, there was this funny few years where they got rights to Cruz Azul games, and so there were actually Cruz Azul Liga MX games were on Fox Soccer back in about like 06, 07, and it was the same type of thing where there was no promotion for it. It just fell into their laps for free, and they said, what the hell else are we going to put on Saturday at 3:00? Yeah, here we'll put the Cruz Azul games on, and we'll market it as Liga MX soccer, and that was about it. And then that went away.
Cruz Azul is actually a very good pick for San Diego, for fans of San Diego sports. They fit right in with
winning droughts.
Yeah, with the not winning tradition of San Diego teams.
Hey, so Nate, quick question. Since many panel members, but some of our listeners are not familiar with the Nate Agurrea. So, are you a U.S. fan or a Mexico fan, in terms of national teams?
Ooh, we are jumping right into the juicy stuff here. Well, I am a lifelong United States men's national team supporter. I grew up in a 90% Mexican populated town in Watsonville, California, and so I've written a number of articles. Actually, our mutual acquaintance Wiso Vasquez and all the good folks over at FootMex Nation and our friends Johnny Rico and Cesar Hernandez have had to hear these stories over and over and over again about how I grew up surrounded by Mexican soccer. And I was a Mexican, infatuated with the Mexican League and with the Mexican national team, but I was also in love with my little underdogs in red, white, and blue. And it's funny hearkening back to those days and remembering when they were just the little underdogs in red, white, and blue going down and getting a 0-0 draw at Azteca with 10 men after Jeff Agus got sent off back in that quali in '96, and the first win in Columbus in 2001, and what that meant, kind of being surrounded by the Mexican soccer culture as all that was going on was amazing. So it's incredible to see how far the rivalry has come. You know, when I was first getting to know it, it wasn't even a rivalry at all. There was no rivalry between USA and Mexico. It was, it was the big dogs and the little dogs. Now there's definitely a rivalry these days, and it's crazy to see how far it's come. But I got much love for both sides. I've become I don't want to say less of a fan. I'm still a fan at heart, no matter what my broadcasting or journalism career does. But I've definitely become a little bit more of a neutral observer, shall we say, from time to time. Fernando, as you yourself remember during that Mexico run at the Copa America.
Yes, that's what I was gonna bring up. How were you feeling on that day? If I recall, you just wanted to interview the players when we were at the mix zone. But I don't know, man. I remember you were kind of happy that day.
I know what Fernando's trying to get at. Fernando was doing this that night back. It was the 2-0 win over Jamaica at the Rose Bowl, and Fernando just kept looking at me going, "Man, you seem really happy right now. You seem like you've just had a really good day. Are you sure there's not a green shirt underneath your red, white, and blue? Are you sure you're not going to come around one of these days?" And I'm like, "Nah, man. I can have a good time. I can barbecue in the parking lot and dance the cumbias and sing corrido songs and have a good time."
Everybody, we're all gonna get late.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield when I'm at a Mexican game. I mean, I get treated like it's like we're at Caddyshack.
How did you get started with Azteca?
Well, the situation came about with Cholos. The situation came about with jumping in with Club Tijuana and everything that they're doing and their connections here in San Diego. And there is just a great crew down here. Ivan Orozco is the English language communications director, an English language media director down here with Club Tijuana. A woman by the name of Kim Tate, who is now the English director over there at Santos Laguna, the only other full-time English language media department in Liga MX at this moment. Kim was in Tijuana for a while, and there's just so much that was laid out before I ever got here. And as soon as I saw it, I said, "Hey, knock, 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 let me in, baby. I'm ready to be a part of this thing." And it very much speaks to my heart and what Fernando was bringing up there as far as my upbringing with Mexican soccer, but being an English speaking American who is also just surrounded by Mexican culture my entire life. It is something that very much speaks to me, everything that Club Tijuana represents, and on the media level and everything now here with Azteca San Diego as well.
Now, do you prefer to broadcast with a headset or in front of a mic or holding a mic?
Ooh, we're getting into the technical questions here. I like headsets. I like headsets for the reason that I then have full use of the table in front of me and both of my hands, and I can write, I can slap somebody, I can do anything I want. And it's a little bit harder, right now I got the mic in the hand, and I'm sitting here in San Diego like a rapper.
You need to buy your own headset and bring it with you.
Well, we'll try. I mean, I know these CantinaMX podcasts are going to get me the big promotional deals. So, Sony, any other companies, if you're out there listening, I'll be your headset guinea pig. Absolutely.
Sennheiser, Bear. Get a pair of Sennheiser 400s, man.
Are they paying you, man? They better be paying you, man. That was like the most confident sponsor plug I've ever heard.
Well, that's what we use for the shows that we produce. So
okay.
They work. They do work very well. Now, so you've had a chance to go to obviously Mexico games throughout your career, and you did manage to cover the Blazer Bowl up in Pasadena. I guess it was 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, and Tuca Ferretti, you were able to get a really good, almost impassioned response out of Tuca. So what kind of connection do you and Tuca have?
Oh wow! I want to actually ask. I'm gonna see if I can come back in on this here in like 30 seconds. I want to give Jolie, I want to give Joel a chance to because he was in the room when this happened, and he's read this full article and heard this full interview before. Jolie, what do you remember about my connection with Tuca Ferretti? I'll put it in my own words in a second. I want to hear your take on this.
No, I just heard your take, Nate. I stayed in the press box. I had to finish an article, and I just stayed writing the whole time.
Now was it?
I missed it.
You missed the locking of the eyes.
Lucky that you caught Tuca on the win, because if you ask him a question,
No le voy a discutir con usted.
He could turn harsh. So please, what was it that you?
I'll tell you the story. I remember the reason why Jolie was talking about it, because he was up in the press box. So what they would do at the Copa or at the CONCACAF Cup, and then they did it during the Copa America as well. And this is during any major tournaments. Writers will stay up in the press box, and they'll take the audio from the press conference that's going on like a mile and a half away on the other side of the stadium. They will take that audio and play it in the press box. And so I had a couple of different writers after, because I went back up to grab my stuff from the press box after the whole ordeal, and people saying, wow, man, that was some deep stuff in there with Tuca. And I didn't really realize it at the moment. I asked him, Tuca had this thing, you remember Tuca Ferretti was in this interim manager role,
right? Yeah, he took it over for 3 games
for the CONCACAF Cup. And I remember talking to Gustavo Mendoza I was hosting a radio. I was hosting World Soccer Talk Radio at the time, and I did a live remote from the Rose Bowl on the Friday before that Saturday game. And Gustavo Mendoza of Fox Sports in Mexico, he had this great line where he said, "Nate, it's the Tuca that you're seeing today in training, in this Friday pregame press conference, this is not the normal Tuca. This is this very almost like bizarre alternate universe Tuca, where he's very grateful. He's very happy to be here. He's just trying to, in his own words, he's trying to just give back to Mexican soccer. And it's such a blessing to be able to give as a human being. And he feels so grateful to be here. And Gustavo Mendoza was just telling me over and over, he's like, come to a Tuca Ferretti press conference after a Tigres loss, and you'll see the difference of.
Usted no me va a decir qué carajo tengo que hacer.
And on that note, everybody remembers that game. Everybody remembers the just incredible spectacle that was 93,000 people at the Rose Bowl. Aguilar scores the winner in the 118th minute. Mexico win 3-2. And Jurgen Klinsmann's press conference was just an absolute disgrace, just filled with all sorts of just lying and lameness that we got to know and associate with Jurgen in his time with the U.S. men's national team. And then in comes Tuca, and he's just got this big ear-to-ear grin on his face. The glasses are kind of falling partway down his nose, and he's just the CONCACAF officials after like 8 questions are like, all right, you've done the mandated amount of time, and Tuca just looks at the press officer and goes like, I'm willing to take more. Like I'm having a really good time right now. I would love to take more questions. And he starts calling on people himself. And he starts looking around at people, and he calls on a couple different people, and then finally the press officer's like, all right, and I raise my hand. I'm thinking, what the heck? Give this a shot. And I raise my hand. He points down to me, and I look and I say, hola, Tuca, un pregunta en inglés, ¿está bien? And he looks at the press officer, and he goes, and the press officer goes, sí, Tuca, sí. And he goes, pues inglés está bien. And he looks back at me, and I asked this question in English to him, and I say, Tuca, yesterday at the press conference, you used the word gratitude. I think it was used the word love, thankfulness, and gratitude. You used those 3 words more than I've ever heard any human being in a 10-minute span. After a game like the one we saw tonight, how do you feel about love, thankfulness, and gratitude? And he pulls off his glasses and does his little glasses wipe, and then strokes his mustache a couple times.
He does a full
and just looks
Tracy on you. Wow.
Oh, exactly. And just looks down at me and like doesn't look away for like 2.5 minutes and proceeds to give like I'm like almost like choking up, like crying, thinking about this. I wrote that he sounded like something between a Buddhist monk and a Catholic priest. Like it was this just incredible speech about what it means to be grateful and how our greatest power as human beings is the ability to give and all I wanted to do was give back to Mexican football for everything that Mexican people and Mexican culture gave me as an outsider from the time I first stepped foot in the country as a player. And I just wanted to give these fans a trip to the Confederations Cup. And I know I'm not going to be here much longer, but if I can look back on my short time with this national team and know that I gave back to these people, you know, that makes me proud as a man. And I'm just like, there's like one teardrop.
Crying in the press box when you were hearing this.
Oh, there was like almost one, and I looked around me, and I wasn't the only one. There were like other people who, and I think what it was, I go back to what Gustavo Mendoza touched on, where it was people who were so used to, you know, I wasn't as used to covering Tuca as most of the people in that room. So I think actually there was almost more shock and just like the one teardrop roll down feel from other people in the room who were used to, you know, Nuevo Leon freak out after Nuevo Leon freak out from Tuca and hearing just this beautiful impassioned speech. It was one of my favorite moments in my young writing and broadcasting career, and I will always have much love for the crazy man in the Ferrari after that night in October of 2015.
Well,
Hey, so
Tuca's been a
quick question.
grouch.
I'm sorry. Do you have a video of that answer? Do you know if it's been broadcasted anywhere?
Somebody had it on Periscope. I think Gustavo actually had it on Periscope. So you could like dig in about like a year, 18 months or so into the Periscopes and see if it's still there. But other than that, man, it might just be floating out in the space of you know, footballing romanticism out there in the world.
You know, this result for Tuca, it was like at least over 20 years in the making. And it's interesting, if we go back to the World Cup, 1994 World Cup, and the coach was Miguel Mejia Barón.
And Tuca was an assistant.
Yeah, he was an assistant, and he had been touted as coach for many years. He would make the list of possible candidates, but for one reason or another, he would never.
Well, he always
never
said
land the hot seat
because of the fact that he saw what Mejia Barón had to go through. That he's like, I don't want to mess with any of that, and that's why he did what he did, because he didn't have to mess with that, and he would just do his 4 games. And if it turned out for him, then he, you know, they were begging him to stay when they were beating whoever it was they were playing in, and I think it was Panama, in Toluca, like no, quédate Tuca, quédate.
Yeah,
because
yeah, and for him to return and you know, the tables turned. Now Barón is his assistant, so it's very meaningful for him.
And some fascinating tie-in with Mejia Barón, the man who famously or infamously, depending on how you want to look at it, left one Piojo Miguel Herrera off of the 1994 World Cup roster after Herrera's temper tantrums on the field at Azteca in the qualifiers in '93. And so the way the folklore all ties together in Mexican soccer with the coaches and when you start studying these guys' playing careers and how Miguel Mejia Barón actually was one of the main reasons why Tuca became a manager in the first place, and all those famous Pumas teams, and how Tuca was the captain who got to wear the captain's armband maybe a little bit longer than some would have liked, because Miguel Mejia Barón looked at him as basically a glorified assistant coach who was also still a player, and how he became a coach because of Mejia Barón, and now with Tigres, Mejia Barón saying, "Oh, I'll kind of come out of retirement to be your consigliere of sorts here, to be your confidant with you." Now it's so fascinating, and I thought the whole thing, if there was one character, I remember during that CONCACAF Cup that I was just feeling, I don't want to say sorry for, and it's amazing how his tenure has turned out. I just kept thinking about this Juan Carlos Osorio character. Where I was like, this is the ultimate lose-lose situation that I've ever seen, where this guy beats the U.S. and this emotional 3-2 victory. He's up on the podium talking to me, sounding like a Buddhist monk, and everyone in Toluca is begging him to stay that night during that friendly a few days later. And I'm thinking, how is Osorio supposed to come into this situation and succeed? How is there going to be anything ready for success for JCO when this whole thing happens? And lo and behold, it's been a tough ride for JCO.
Yeah, such a tough ride. Even that I think Juan and I are halfway expecting Tuca to make another appearance before the Russia World Cup, but.
Or maybe Piojo makes another appearance.
Well, that's a distinct possibility too. It's something that we've discussed.
Speaking of Piojo, he missed out on the World Cup, but he did make it to the Panini sticker book. So
he did. He has one of my all-time favorite. It's funny how it brings this up. He actually has one of my all-time favorite Paninis, and it's sad because he never actually got to play in that World Cup. But that is the. I was just talking about this with Cesar Hernandez the other day. The iconic Piojo mullet of 1993. It is one of the best Paninis of all time.
Well, see now that's a question that I think that any Cholos fan would have to answer. You know, gun to your head. Do you go Piojo mullet or do you go Martinone slickback?
I don't know. Are the haircuts going to duke it out in an airport? I don't know.
Well, it's entirely up to you. But gun to your head. Which one do you go with?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Joe Dirt, so I got to go with the mullet. I got to go with the Piojo, the Mexican Joe Dirt.
I would combine them both. I would go mullet and slick the hair back, so that it's like it's slicked back all the way down past.
You didn't tell me that was an option.
Well,
like I would have gone with that absolutely. You didn't tell me there was a third option.
Well, I guess I had just thought of it. Pardon me. Do you get a chance to go to the Piojo pressers after the Cholos games, or do you have to scurry back to wait in your 3-hour line to get back to San Diego?
We do have to scurry back. We basically just wait it out. We go find some spots in Tijuana. We've got some of our favorite taco spots down in Tijuana, and we kind of like wait it out, and then because about midnight is one of the biggest rushes of all. So you go right after the game, or you wait for a few hours and kind of let it thin out for a little while. No, I go to just about every Piojo press conference, and he's actually very, I don't want to say subdued. But over the last few months in particular, it's a very, and I know he was ejected from the playoff loss to Leon, or actually the game that they won, that incredible game back in November where they almost came back again in the playoffs against Leon, but eventually Baselli scored that goal late. But Piojo was ejected from that game in the 7th minute. But other than that moment, he actually is a very, talk about, coaches showing different sides of themselves. Piojo has been very calm as Cholos manager. And just a real quick kind of funny story on this note, there was the reporter back, I forget what game it was. It was one of they won a bunch of different 1-0 games during the first place run in the Apertura in 2016. It might have been after the Pumas game in August, or I forget which one it was, but some reporter asks him in Spanish, asks him something to the effect of, hey, we see goals get scored and you don't look as happy as you once did. Like, what happened to the famous things that have been turned into gifts? You in the 2013 final with America, you in the World Cup with Mexico, are these goals for Cholos not as important to you? And sort of like put him on the back foot with that, or put him on the defensive with that of, or why aren't you celebrating like the Piojo that we know? And Piojo gave this really interesting answer where he kept saying, hey, it's part of growing up. And every goal that has ever been scored, whether I was playing on a team or whether I'm coaching a team, the most important goal is the next one that's scored. So don't you dare for a second don't you dare think that I'm like not as into it or something, or this doesn't mean as much to me. As like, I don't care what team I'm coaching or where I'm at in the world. The next goal is the one that's going to matter the most to me. I just might have a little bit calmer of a way of showing it these days after everything I've been through in my coaching career.
Hay un solo pendejo que me ataca, güey.
I remember covering Piojo back in Houston when they were doing the Interliga. And it was during the time where he got into that accident, and he had to wear like that little thing over his nose,
like Jack Nicholson in Chinatown.
Yeah, something similar to that. And he stood out the entire Interliga, the practices and stuff like that. He was just, you could tell he didn't want to be there. So he was a fun character, because obviously, back, especially then, he was still young. He was a much younger coach, and he had, a temper, and obviously, breaking his nose and whatever, and having to wear that thing just made him a little bit more, just funnier.
You're trying to say he wants to go back to America?
Ron, were all of his comment, was he speaking like this because he had to cover up his nose the whole time?
What?
Exactly.
I didn't hear anything.
No, say when he was speaking, did it sound like this because his nose was covered up?
No, but he was just, you could tell he was just mad,
Yeah. Well, that is Ronnie DeLuna, ladies and gentlemen. Ronnie DeLuna joins us. Ron, one moment, please. See, you should come in late every time because we do that every time because you're the El Águila que llega. So there you go. And of course, I also play it because it's the Parchis one, and I know it.
I know it
chaps Juan's ass every time I play it. So just for a little bit.
John chipping away at my childhood.
That's right. Another jab into with the dagger into your inner child.
First, he tells me that Parchis wasn't really Mexican.
Spanish.
Yeah, they were Spaniards. There's a lot of blonde Mexicans, but and now they made a America theme song.
Yeah, and John also had to break my heart when he told me that lady Chiquitibum was not Mexican.
She wasn't?
No.
Whoa,
no,
man.
She wasn't.
No, she's Spaniard.
That's right.
Oh man,
she was from Venezuela.
Most Mexican soccer is Spaniard if you start thinking about it. Nemesio 10, No Camp, all those owners. Yeah, it's been a lie, dude.
I did have a question for Nate though, seeing as that he's also a San Diegan. Regarding
San
Diegan. Sorry.
Why do you gotta be saying all Mexican, man?
No, I'm just saying. I was gonna ask him as far as that they're thinking about tearing down the Qualcomm and building up a new soccer-specific stadium or something, or to bring MLS. Does that threaten, or is there a place for MLS in San Diego?
There's definitely a place for MLS in San Diego. I was just at the I call them pep rallies. They're MLS Commissioner Don Garber when he goes from city to city saying, "How bad do you want me? How bad do you want me? Show up and show me your money and show me how bad you want me." And he did one of those events. He and his staff actually came to San Diego, and for anybody following this, this is one of the main things being talked about in the soccer community, not only here in San Diego. This is funny with the Sin Fronteras mindset of Cholos, where one of the main supporters, and this might surprise some people, of an MLS team coming to San Diego, everybody, and I mean everybody from fans to staff members to everybody in the media department that I work with, to even people who are in touch with the Hunk family and in touch with the ownership group at Cholos. Some of the main supporters of an MLS team coming to San Diego are the people at Club Tijuana, are fans and representatives of Cholos, saying, like, could you imagine how beautiful that would be? Like, could you imagine a built-in geographical rivalry between these two teams. Can you imagine the two teams competing for hotshot young talent in the area, the likes of the Joe Coronas and Paul Ariolas of the future and that type of thing? Could you imagine the cultural connection? Could you imagine the potential cultural statements that could be made in the eyes of what we're being faced with here in this country in 2017, especially right here on this border? So it's really funny that actually the people at Cholos are super supportive of MLS coming to San Diego. As far as the stadium goes, as far as Qualcomm being torn down, these guys from FS Investors, that is the investment group that is putting together this $200 million expansion bid to get into Major League Soccer. And I don't want to get too deep into that because I know we only got a little bit of time. I don't want to get too much into the finances of Major League Soccer and how they may relate in some people's eyes to pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing. But it is a rather it is a rather expensive. Herbalife, OmniLife, Amway.
Yeah,
I could go on a list of many of the main Major League Advocare. Many of the main Major League Soccer sponsors are actually in and of themselves multi-level marketing agencies. But again, that for another show entirely. As far as the takedown of Qualcomm, the stadium plan that these guys from FS Investors laid out is, I got to say, I've reviewed the thing up and down, sideways, left and right. It is fantastic, and it's got something for everybody. It really, one of the main tie-ins is San Diego State football and creating a facility that could be that the Aztecs football team, which is an integral part of the sporting community here in San Diego, could be a part of. There's something in there even forget non-soccer fans. There's something in there for non-sports fans. And there's this incredible renovation of the San Diego River Park, which is just this long forgotten concept and this forgotten idea. And there's this whole renovation of the river park. There's all this these housing and commerce that would go in to this whole thing. So I would say, if I'm going to just kind of lay it down here on this CantinaMX podcast, as far as the 12 cities that are competing for a potential 4 expansion franchise spots over the next few years here, spots that are supposed to be announced by the end of this year, I would definitely put San Diego in the top 4. There are also some interesting things going on with the North American Soccer League and with the United Soccer League and all these leagues in American soccer trying to come into San Diego in the meantime, because a team wouldn't actually take the field in San Diego in Major League Soccer until the year 2020 at the earliest. So what's to stop an NASL team from kind of sneaking in the back door in 2018 and saying, well, in the meantime, while all y'all are waiting, we're here and we're playing. Come see us play.
Well, it is America's finest city. So
it is indeed. Thank you.
I did have another question too. As far as you said that Cholos seems to be totally on board with adding a team in San Diego. Now, currently they are looking in San Diego to build up their own cantera. Is that part of the identity that they're striving for, like as far as producing players for perhaps both countries?
You got to expand on that a little bit. As far as you mean a potential MLS team here in San Diego?
I guess I'm just saying, like, the way I guess I figure is, if there's a team in San Diego, then obviously they're going to be looking in San Diego to fill up roster spots in their youth academies. I guess I'm along those lines. I was thinking about Cholos, and there's American players on the team. Is that part of the philosophy that, like maybe a sense of pride or a point of pride where the team is like, we're going to be producing players for for either country. It's
Oh,
not
I
like
think that's a huge sense of pride for Cholos, and I think it's actually, again, I keep bringing the names Joe Corona and Paul Arriola up, and I've got great working relationships with both those guys, and Cesar Hernandez as well, and our boy Johnny Rico, who worked for Cholos for a while and still does all sorts of stuff covering the team. Check out all of the interviews that we've done over the last few years, but especially even just in the last few weeks. Yours truly and Cesar Hernandez for Soccer Nation stuff with Joe Corona and Paul Arriola. No, I mean, fans in TJ I'm talking fans who are Tijuana locals, take so much pride in Paul Arriola and Joe Corona as players who are their own. And then there's people in San Diego who say they're ours as well. And it kind of comes to this beautiful conclusion of like, oh, well, I guess we're just one big metropolitan area that just happens to have this big, silly monstrosity of a border in between us. But we are one and the same as far as this community. We are Sin Fronteras. And so I think as far as an MLS team having that same mindset, I don't know if based on Major League Soccer rules, shall we say, and kind of the way franchises, I shiver at calling them clubs based on a number of the ways that the league is run, the way that these league franchises have to go about things. I don't know if there's as much freedom to do it the way that Cholos have done. But with that being said, there's one MLS team in FC Dallas who has just flipped the script on this whole idea and have basically cultivated this incredible homegrown culture where it's all these players from the state of Texas and from the Dallas area and even from the north of Mexico who are starting to look at FC Dallas as this route to becoming a professional and going through the academy ranks at FC Dallas. So it can be done in MLS as far as the academy system, as far as the homegrown culture goes. But I think it's more getting maybe a little bit even more to your point. I think it could be more on a marketing level than anything. I look at if I had to wager money right now on where Chicharito is going to be going within the next year, I'm saying he's going to LAFC, and it's as much a marketing decision with trying to garner Mexican fans here in this millennial technological age of just celebrity obsessed culture that we live in. And Chicharito is as celebrity as it gets when it comes to Mexican soccer, and what that would be, the coup, the absolute coup that would be for LAFC to get Chicharito on a marketing level is just, I mean, it's infinite what that could mean. And so a San Diego team may be doing something similar in that regard with one or two big names. I honestly would see it far more likely going that direction than maybe a heavily Mexican influenced academy.
You know, it's one of the things that we've talked about on this show is because of the 10-8 rule, there's going to be some Mexican players that just aren't necessarily going to get the chance to play in Liga MX for whatever reason, and maybe they're marginal players, but they could definitely fill some roster spots in MLS, especially with 4 expansion teams coming on. You're putting a lot of pressure on NCAA soccer to come up with 4 more teams. And I'm being dead serious. So,
well, I think it's interesting what Cholos is doing. Obviously, it looks like Santos is following suit in a lot of ways. Where I know today someone posted a story about a 20-year-old defender from FC Dallas, actually, who just signed with Santos. Very much an American player. I forget his name right now, but I think it's a smart move. I mean, you know, you can't just look in your own. Just your city, you know, you have to be able to expand outwards, and if you're for teams in the north, it only makes sense to look across the border, because I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that could play.
So, how much of San Diego's strategy would it be to cultivate as much of the local talent as possible? Is that something that they've actually discussed doing, or is it just?
Well, right I think it's pure conjecture at this point. I think it's pure hypothesis without really much of a scientific experiment in play. I mean, there is no team right now. There's not even the guarantee of a team ever being here as of right now. So I feel like this is such an interesting conversation, and I'm on podcasts with my partner at Soccer Nation, with the editor-in-chief of Soccer Nation, DK Aniwo, and we're talking about this stuff all the time, and sometimes we'll kind of stop mid-sentence and just look at each other going, wait, there's not even, why are we breaking this stuff down for something that doesn't even exist yet? Let's give it a little bit of time here. Let's see what happens. And there is this kind of lull right now in the San Diego MLS effort and the aspirations to get one of these expansion bids. And it's this long running thing where I feel like Don Garber, with the way this whole process goes, he's like, you remember when in 2010 in the NBA when LeBron James did the decision?
Yeah, when he yes.
Who's LeBron James? That's
what this MLS thing is like. It's just an ongoing LeBron's decision, and it's Garber going from city to city. And maybe I'll pick you, and maybe I'll pick you, maybe I'll pick you. And so here's these thousands of soccer fans in San Diego pining for top flight soccer, many of whom go to Xolos for every Friday night home game in Liga MX, thousands of whom support lower league clubs that already exist here in San Diego, the likes of the North County Battalion last year, Albion Pros in the NPSL, the SoCal Surf, and the San Diego Zest now here in the PDL. I mean, there's soccer.
Hang on. Joel, I have some bad news.
What? What, injury?
Your boy just went down hard.
Fierro?
Yep.
He'll be up, dude.
Yeah.
No, I'm listening to Nate, and I'm saying something that should give San Diego, forgot the word, dude. but I'm saying priority. I think priority as far as getting a franchise. It's that Liga MX has been pushing to have a tournament with MLS, so they're gonna start this year like a cup format. But this is something they tried in the past. I forgot the name. Was it Superliga?
Superliga.
There you go.
It was the Superliga, and I remember the Superliga, and I remember being somewhat irritated.
There were no merits going into the Superliga. Remember the very first season?
I remember Alexi Lalas standing on a podium and saying, "Finally, we have a tournament where MLS teams can go toe-to-toe with Mexican teams." And I'm thinking to myself, CONCACAF Champions League, CONCACAF existed for... We've had this tournament, and it was such a cheap cash grab, and no one went to these games. They played them all at the StubHub Center, the Home Depot Center at the time. I remember they played a few other ones around the country, but it was just such a joke. It was so poorly run, and it's going to be much different.
3 seasons for Liga MX as well.
Yeah, but the thing is though is that they put a big purse on it for the winners, so that made it very interesting for the players.
And they could do, and that's what they're talking. So that's what somebody brought this up the other day. Down here, it was actually on aboard the USS Midway during this big MLS to SD press conference with Don Garber and the group from FS Investors, and somebody was talking about, man, could you imagine a San Diego a border? It's the Border Cup, and actually a thing where it's Xolos. It's not even, no, it's not just the two teams. You get, you even bring in a couple of the lower division teams, and you have it in as a 4 or 6 team tournament here in San Diego. I mean, that type of with just
does San Diego State have a men's team?
I don't know if the college program, they do have a men's team. I don't know if the college program could be a part of that tournament for legality reasons with a big cash prize at the end of it. But no, I mean, these are just all theoreticals that people are throwing out.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
they're all very interesting. No, I love the idea. It's as old school as it gets. The idea of the tournament and doing tournament with straight cash prize for the winner. It's extremely primitive, but you know what? Sometimes primitive is absolutely glorious.
That's exactly what we're gonna do later on this show. We're gonna get into it, and the winner at the end gets the big prize.
Hey, but I think the fact that they're trying it again, I mean, they see some potential there.
Well, Joel
is doing that,
but right now it's I think
they've been doing that since the they've been doing that since the 60s, Joel.
Well, not cross, not like.
No, yeah.
I mean, I really would do that.
This is something that point is something I try to bring up to people so often in the 1960s. In the 1960s and 70s, before the original North American Soccer League was founded, what would happen is clubs from all around the world in their off seasons would come to the U.S. for like 2 or 3 months, and they would play these bizarre little kind of mini leagues, and they would name their team something slightly different. You know, like if Club America would come to one of these, they would be the Mexico City Eagles or something like that, and they would play for 2 or 2.5 months, and they would do these tournaments. They would actually look these things up. I'm glad that other distinguished panelists are bringing these up, because Joel, you got to look at this stuff.
It is, in fact, there's a book really, to me, I think it's the best book best book about Mexican football. It's written by a Spaniard, Juan C. de Mulet. It's called El Libro de Oro del Fútbol Mexicano, and it goes into detail about just the entire history of the league, and it was published in the 60s. But in the book, it had photographs of these tournaments between U.S. teams and Mexican teams, and it was called the JFK Cup. And from the pictures, I mean, the stadiums were packed. So, I mean, this is something that's been going back, like I said, for years, and going back to what Nate was saying. Like, for example, when Atlas was the last time they were champions, they actually had a tour in the U.S., and one of the teams that they played was Manchester United. So you can imagine how long ago that was.
But if the previous version of Superliga, wasn't really well received or wasn't really attended well.
No, they were though.
Superliga? I'm talking about
not Superliga. I'm talking about now.
I'm just saying, like, what's the difference now with whatever tournament? What's different now that's going to suddenly bring in people to fill the seats?
Well, I personally believe they need to expand it. It's right now they just have it at 4-4. They need to make it league wide for both leagues, straight up single elimination, just wherever the chips fall, and just play it.
Hey, we could create. I'm sure we could create among this panel. We could create the most badass tournament possible. But what's going to probably end up happening, as far as this big cash prize tournament that people are bringing up, as much as we'd love to have, our Copa Frontera right here in Tijuana and San Diego, what is far more likely is something of a 4-4, a quick little 2-week tournament, but between the teams, something of that sort.
Yeah, one thing that just makes it a preseason tournament, though. I mean, I know, and
that's why it could be so much more. And I feel like it's going to end up maybe being something similar to the old Superliga.
But they got to get past that. I mean, seriously, if they're going to do that,
they do. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, John, though, one of the things is television. The way television ties into this is huge. And I forgot to make one other point about this San Diego MLS expansion bid. And it was that day out on the USS Midway with Don Garber, with Mayor Kevin Faulkner, the people from FS Investors. Had a great interview with Landon Donovan, who is now a San Diego resident. Landon Donovan is out here at the event. And after the guys from FS Investors spoke, we said, hey, we have one other guy who just joined the investment team, and he's investing his money into this San Diego potential MLS expansion bid. He's putting his money on the table. His name is Juan Carlos Rodriguez. He is the president of Univision Deportes. And everyone's kind of looking around, and especially the people that were on the boat from Cholos, people who had come up from Tijuana that day to be a part of this event, and we're all kind of looking at each other going, wait, where the hell did this guy come from? Oh, wow, these people are serious. They did their homework. They realized what his presence could mean. And they got Juan Carlos Rodriguez involved. And he had this crazy backstory, how he's known Mike Stone, the chief investor of FS Investors, how he's known Mike Stone for a few years. And he doesn't really have much of a connection to San Diego. He lives in Miami, but he's saying, hey, I like San Diego, and I like Major League Soccer, and I love this city. I love the border. I love Mexico. I think there could be a lot going on here. I'm going to put my money on the table. That man, Juan Carlos Rodriguez, being a part of this bid is one of my main, I don't want to say wild cards, but I mean, it's just what makes it all the more realistic, as Joel was talking about. I think that actually is one of the main things that gives San Diego the priority that we speak of. That was just the cherry on top of everything. The president of Univision Deportes being a part of this bid. I mean, that's some big stuff.
Hey, Nate, how I keep reading about there's a push from the lower divisions, that are trying to basically topple the protectionism that the MLS has in the first division as to getting promotion and relegation. Because if that happens, the little Ponzi scheme that MLS has, the protectionism where you pay in 200 or whatever the fee is. What is it? 150 million?
It's coming up on 200 million,
something like that. I mean, when that happens, you're not going to be able to get that type of dough because investors want their sure thing, and obviously it's the franchise model. But I mean, it's gonna happen sooner. It has to happen.
I don't think it will happen, Ron.
They criticize that Mexico. They have the caballeros, the Pacto de Caballeros. They have the gentleman's pact. In a way, the MLS has it too. And they have it legally. They have a legal, protection. I mean, they protect their interest. And I think that before, there's they keep talking about expansion. But I keep reading articles about how some of the lower divisions are starting to get fed up with the way the system is, the pyramid in the U.S. soccer system is.
Well, the peasants are always going to get fed up, and that's what kills me with this, because that's what it comes back to, is that the ruling class in this case has they're set in their ways, and there isn't a whole. I don't want to sound like a total defeatist here, but there's not a whole lot that can be done to change that right now, because the system has been set in place, and the soccer purist in me, someone who grew up, I mean, my two cultures of soccer upbringing, I was raised by Mexicans and English expats. And so, my English footballing upbringing is something where, I thought I understood promotion and relegation by the time I was
seen every and most unbelievably possible creative way to lose matches, then, as having to watch England and Mexico.
And then you throw in being a U.S. fan in there as well. I've got the ultimate trifecta there. No, it is something that is near and dear to my heart. I love the idea of promotion and relegation. I love everything about it. I plan to go to England and cover lower division clubs. I have all these different creative ideas of things I want to do in the near and distant futures in regards to this, and it's something that breaks my heart that it can't happen with the current system of American soccer and with the people that are in power right now. This is where I say I hate to sound like a defeatist, but with the people that are in power right now, I got to agree with Jolie, where it's not gonna change.
Yeah,
it's not gonna change with Don Garber in power.
Honestly, I would have thought the same thing like 20 years ago if someone were to say, the Mexican, that the Mexican, national team wouldn't have Televisa or TV Azteca. They're on the brink of losing the national team. So things do change.
But Ron, a lot of these teams don't have don't have the money to compete. And I'm hoping Nate can expand on this. I think the good example is the New York Cosmos. So a few years back, I think MLS was gonna give him a chance to get into the league, and they turned it down. And they were trying to do the thing with NASL, and I think they're bankrupt right now.
Well, the Cosmos are somehow, some way still alive after I just penned something for Soccer Nation on this very topic actually earlier today, and the Cosmos, yeah, they're after crumbling after winning the championship in the fall of 2016, then crumbling, then folding, then coming back to life. They are ready to go for the 2017 season. But no, the points that Jolie brings up there are very important, and it's this notion of something that's understood. And again, I deal so much with Mexican soccer in my professional life and even just in my upbringing. And the system of promotion and relegation in Mexican soccer, for me, as someone who is such a purist of the game and fully believes in promotion and relegation and equal opportunity from club to club, the system of promotion and relegation in Mexico is an absolute sham and is in so many ways broken and should be fixed and is in so many ways specifically designed to protect the richest of the rich from ever having to go through a team falling to the second division. I mean, you look in England right now, and you look in the second division in England, and you have Newcastle down in the second division of England right now. That's one of the biggest teams in all of England with a 55,000 seat stadium. And it's like, could you imagine a team like Chivas, a team like Tigres or Monterrey getting relegated to the second division? And it's similar to the situation here in Major League Soccer, where no, the owners are unified to make sure that won't happen.
But the promotion relegation, the way that the aggregate is set up, it's not there. It's technically it's not. It doesn't give the big teams an advantage. It actually gives the smaller teams, the ones that don't make this much money in with TV revenues, it gives them a chance to stay in the top flight.
No, but it's 3 years, so it does give you a chance to mess up a couple times, you know.
But I mean, really, but that doesn't. I mean, you know that Chivas is going to be in the top flight. You know that Cruz Azul is going to be in the top flight.
Well, but I would have thought the same thing, because I mean, isn't this modeled after what Argentina did, and then River Plate went down, and you can't get any richer in Argentina than River Plate.
Well, but they've had financial problems, you know.
But River Plate having financial problems still puts them a cut above the rest, regardless.
No, you know what?
They're all hurting, dude. They're all hurting.
Well, but when it happened, I mean, so just because it is, and I do agree that it's designed to keep the more popular teams.
Just keep in mind, in the 90s, Tigres went down twice, as Pachuca did as well.
Yeah, but Pachuca just came into the first division. I mean, just within the early 90s. I mean, they were in the second division for decades.
They were there also in the late 60s, early 70s. But what I'm saying is that the relegation system, promotion system that's in Mexico, although people tell you, oh, it's there to help out the big teams, that's not true. It's there to facilitate the smaller teams, to give them a chance to adapt to the top flight, to the cost of being in the top flight.
Right. Well, it does help you in the fact that if you had one bad season, you're not going straight down.
No, that's the most important. That's the most important point of all right there, is that a team. Again, I go back to the world capital of the tiered system and promotion relegation in England, and you look at teams again like Aston Villa and Newcastle currently in the second division. Those are historically two of the bigger teams in all of England. All it took was one bad season, and you're down and out. Okay. And I think of teams in the Ascenso that could have a team like Sinaloa that had the season that they had last year after going down the way that they did, and that Dorados could have just gotten right back up. That Dorados could have literally just gotten right back up to the top flight. How incredible that system is.
Very easy explanation for y'all. So, do you think the BBC or Sky or anyone likes the fact that Aston Villa and Newcastle are in the second division?
No.
But they don't own a team in Liga MX, right? Who do you think Televisa would rather have in the top flight, the Lobos Buap or Cruz Azul?
Yeah, and you know, to add to that, John, it's very expensive to maintain a highly competitive team, and it's something that usually gets ignored a lot because I rarely see it. But Liga MX teams go bankrupt all the time.
Yeah,
We
the owner
see
for
Puebla changing owners, Atlas changed owners, Chivas changed owners. You have all these teams constantly going broke or being purchased. Leon, which was they were purchased for like 5 million.
the executive for Atlante, Garcia, he said, I remember in a press conference, he once said that when a team goes down from the first division into the second division in Mexico, they can lose up to 85% of their revenues.
Yeah, I used to be against the Mexico's, their whole porcentaje, but
no. When did the was it recent the
now
porcentaje, or is it has it been in place? Because I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I don't remember at all. I mean, I had no idea what it was.
It came about like in '92 or '93, around there, the aggregate system. Again, it's their.
Well, Ronnie, to your point, the teams that that come up, or like I said, the smaller teams that are struggling, like if they've been there for, the more they win, the better off, they climb up the porcentaje just because their delta is a lot more volatile. It moves a lot more. And obviously when they lose, like if Necaxa starts losing, they're going to drop like a stone. So I do understand that. But I mean, the reality is that if you have Cruz Azul had a bad season 4 years ago because they were like 4 in the porcentaje, it didn't affect them at all. They just happened to have a bad season. And they would have, if I remember right, they would have been relegated, Cruz Azul.
Yeah, and it allows them time to rebuild. They're just, by the next season, they have a completely different squad.
It allows the team, not only does it allow them time to rebuild, that's one of the most important points of all, is that, you mess up and you have a bad 6 months, you still have 2.5 years to right your wrongs with a budget that exceeds most other teams. Remember the season Chivas had about 1.5 years ago, where people said, "Oh, Chivas could be a relegation candidate," and I scoffed at the whole thing. I said, "No, they won't. They'll fix it up. They'll be
for that too, by the way."
That was the
Of course, we were all praying for it. We were all praying for it, except for one guy on this panel. But no, in regards to the television aspect of all this is one of the most important points of all in here. And you talk about a team, if they were to drop to the Ascenso, losing upwards of 85% of their revenue. I mean, that's catastrophic. That's why Don Garber and Major League Soccer will never go to that structure, because see that number and what that could mean for Major League Soccer. Don Garber said of promotion relegation about 1.5 years ago, he said, "Oh yeah, you really think I'm going to have an owner, buy in for 150 million, and then with the possibility that a year later his team could be playing games in front of 4,000 people in Chattanooga." And that really pissed off the people in Chattanooga, who actually routinely pack in about 16,000 people for their 4th division team, and what that represents as far as grassroots soccer in America. But tying it back to England, in England, when a team goes down, there is one of the most amazing terms in modern football finance is in England,
parachute financing.
The parachute payments. And what the parachute payments do is they allow for a team like a Newcastle, a Villa, a big team that has a crap season. They go down, a Queen's Park Rangers, so many teams that the way Burnley has come back in to the Premier League, Watford over the last few years, Leicester City even, where teams, because of how much Premier League television revenue is, which is just insane, billions upon billions of euros, pounds, dollars, any currency you want to name, and teams get a cut of that every year.
That's why they say that the championship, the English championship title, is the most prestigious title in all of football, because once you get into you win the championship, obviously you get promoted to the Premiership. And that's where you get the big bucks,
So if a system like that, and this is something where, the hopeful heart inside of me says that someday this will happen, but then the somewhat more realistic side of me says, no, this will never happen. But could you imagine a system like that. Could you imagine parachute payments in Mexican soccer and a system of promotion relegation that would allow a team to go down to the Ascenso and then fight their way right back up?
I don't think you require. I don't think that you really require parachute payments. I think what I think what Mexico needs, and for the longest times, and this is one of the things that used to, just really piss me off. And I have issues with the Mexican sports press. I really do. I just, that's just for a different podcast. But one of the things that they would always refer to the lower divisions as, they referred el infierno or el calvario, or they always talk crap about the lower divisions, and I was always thinking to myself, what a bunch of idiots. It's like I'm not saying to be cheerleaders for any one team or one coach, but to promote, the game, it only benefits them as well. And that's one of the things that's always pissed me off about the press in Mexico, is that they never knew how to market, and they never knew how to treat the lower divisions with respect.
Hey Ronnie, if your Jaiba Brava would get a chance to come into the top flight, either by just buying a franchise and moving it to Tampico, or get it through promotion, what would you prefer?
I'd rather have them, win it, legit. I'd rather have them win it, win the promotion legit, wise.
Would you write them a letter asking them to put the crab on the shirt again if they made it back?
They have it already. It's in their logo.
Really? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So they're cangrejos.
La Jaiba Brava.
Should the cangrejo be in a barril?
I'm not surprised that Ronnie's a Cangrejos United fan.
But I also have a soft spot for Politécnico, because they just started another team again. After,
yes, they did.
After I don't know how many years. I mean, that's my dad's alma mater.
Now, you guys talk about the pathway back to the top flight in Mexico, and how the Mexican media oftentimes just mocks lower division soccer, and how that's not something that is really ingrained in the culture of the Mexican game, embracing the second division and the fight for promotion, and as John touched on, it's the race for that final promotion spot in England is one of the most magical, enthralling things for me in the world of soccer, because of what's on the line. But in terms of a team fighting for the Ascenso or fighting from the old Primera A, when I was coming up, I remember I started following León because of my friends from Guanajuato in 2003. So there's about a 7 or 8 year run there of León fighting to get into the top flight, and all the stories that I could tell of how we would follow Primera A games with liquor store calling cards and Guanajuato speaker.
How many times did they lose the final? Did they lose it like 3 or 4 times?
They lost the final. We lost count how many times they would get close, and it was finally going to be the year that León was going to come back in. And I mean, I think back to that, and I'm so grateful for that. That was one of the most fascinating times for me, just as a fan of the game. And I know I can be a bit of a soccer romantic. What's that?
Did I hear sad flute?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupt you, Nate.
By the way,
I heard sad flute. That's why
that this happened. But apparently, Kikín Fonseca is coaching Venados Mérida. I had no idea that was happening.
Well, see, there's another reason to follow the Ascenso. There you go.
Do you know who he replaced?
Who did he replace? Oh, was it
a World Cup champion?
Chelis? Oh no, it was Camoranesi, right?
Well, you know what? Now that they threw Chelis was in the fold too. He was coaching one of the teams, but Camoranesi was also coaching Liga de Ascenso.
I'll tell you what, they are selling this thing at a high price for Chivas to win this game. Some of the tackles that Venados have made they've been reminding Chivas that they're there. It's been very interesting.
My bad. He was in Tapachula. Cafetaleros.
Oh, the Cafetaleros. I always liked the Petroleros de Salamanca. And when I was a kid, there was a team in Toluca called Osos Negros. That was the same thing, man. They made the final, kind of like León, 3 or 4 times in a row, and just could never get past it.
But I think Pern is correct. It was Chelis who was at Venados.
Oof.
See, I want to know how a guy like Mauro Camoranesi, how a world-class player like, I mean, these are this is where, Jolie knows our good friend John Arnold. This is where John Arnold has all sorts of amazing deep research of how these weird connections happen in the first place. Like, who the hell did Camoranesi know? Who did he meet with where his coaching pathway was going to go the way that it did? And I mean, how does this stuff happen? Who are these Liga Ascenso agents and connectors?
Camoranesi was tied to Cruz Azul because he obviously played there. So I mean, he
played for Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
That's where he became known, because in Argentina, he was not able to break into first division, so he came into Mexico and he was just dominating at Cruz Azul until he went to I think it was Verona. I'm not sure which of the two.
He ended up at Juventus.
Serie B, and then he ended up
It was, and he was the one who a couple of years ago that quit 10 minutes before the.
He
was with Coras, right? He quit 10 minutes before the game against Chivas. He just quit.
I think right there the coach was trying to tell him how to line the team up. Not the coach, the owner.
And it was your boy.
Figuera, that pretty much has been pulling the strings for Chivas.
I got a question for Nate. Changing subjects back.
Cheeky's here.
Back to the English broadcasting. I have two not problems, but issues with the whole English broadcasting of Liga MX that I wanted to get your thoughts on.
All right.
First of all, like for me, and I think for many people that follow Liga MX, prefer, if they speak Spanish, prefer broadcasting in Spanish for the excitement and just the culture part of it. That's one. And then but the second, and that's not a big deal, but the second one, and I'm okay with English, broadcast and everything. But the second one is who would actually benefit or listen? Who would be the audience listening to English broadcast of the Mexican League? Say, for example, Mexican Americans that don't speak Spanish. In my opinion, if a Mexican American doesn't speak Spanish, they're almost Americanized to where they wouldn't even like soccer. They would like NFL or NBA.
How long have we been debating this, Beto?
I want to get.
I know. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm
not convinced. I'm not convinced by your argument. I want to hear it because I haven't. Let me give you some background. I haven't grown up in a border town. I grew up in Florida where there's not too many Mexicans, so I didn't grow up around Mexicans, and I didn't grow up, speaking Spanish. I had to go to Mexico to speak Spanish or to learn. And so my background isn't the same as a lot of you guys. But that's the way I see it, is if people listen to Liga MX in English because they need to, because they don't understand Spanish, then they're Americanized. If they're Americanized enough, they're not going to even like soccer. So what is your thoughts on those?
I'm gonna have to go as far as strongly against that last statement as I possibly can. The notion that someone with brown skin and a Latino last name, the fact that they might not have the same level of Spanish language prowess as someone else with brown skin and a Latino last name, that makes that person less of a Mexican or less likely to be into soccer. That's just, I don't know how delicately to put this. That's just not the case. That's something that is definitely not the case. I know personally, just myself and my upbringing in the Central Coast of California, and now living down here in San Diego, I can tell you about so many Mexican friends whose parents and grandparents and people in their families are Spanish speakers, and maybe they have a medium command of the Spanish language, and they grew up on American soil, and they grew up going to American schools, and they're as proud of their heritage and their culture and their name and their soccer as anybody, and they just have a little bit better of a command of English than they do Spanish. And so that person is going to seek out English language coverage of the league that means so much to them and their families. So I think there's thousands, if not millions, of examples of what we laid out right there. And then
Nate,
as far, I just want to finish up here real quick.
Sorry.
As far as then the notion that the most white-skinned gringo of all in America could also not be could not be someone who wants to learn about the Mexican game and is going to be challenged to follow a Spanish language broadcast, as good as that would be. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for people learning. That's how I learned the majority of Spanish that I have in my arsenal to this day, was as a little kid with bunny ear antennas watching Univision and Telemundo broadcast of Mexican League soccer. But someone who is an English speaker who is interested in the Mexican game, if they have an English language broadcast there for them, that is going to give them even more impetus to follow the Mexican game. So whether it's English speaking Latinos or just English speaking gringos in America and the average American sports fan,
folks that want to watch Liga MX? There's a lot of folks that want to watch Liga MX but don't watch it because they would rather watch it in English.
There's that
that's
too.
Who this market. That's who this market is.
I think that's right.
What about the people that want to hear, like, the commentators like Andres Cantor go goal, but they don't get that in English? Do you see that that's part of the, I guess you could say, the soccer culture?
Fernando, I think eventually what we're gonna see, because
wait, that question was for Nate.
Well, I know, but I'm gonna give my own. I'm gonna chime in either way. So shut up.
Hang on, Dan. I got this, Dan.
No le voy a discutir con usted.
There.
Cállese. God damn it! You made me lose my train of thought.
That's why I said it. Go ahead, Nate.
No,
go ahead, Nate.
What was the question again?
The question was like, do you think an English speaker would enjoy the game when, for example?
Oh, no, Fernando. As far as the style of commentary, and I had a great conversation. You talk about Andres Cantor. I had a great conversation earlier today and last night with Andres' son, with Nico Cantor, who's going to be one of the commentators on this Univision Facebook feed for the Clasico Nacional on Saturday. And Nico's going to be alongside Ramses Sandoval, who is someone who also is a bilingual broadcaster. And look, this is something that could be debated for hours and hours and hours. This is something that is talked about among soccer commentators forever and ever and ever, and that is the different styles from culture to culture, and that it sometimes this is I want to make abundantly clear that this is just my personal opinion here. I'm not speaking for anybody else. This is purely Nate's opinion and nothing else. I sometimes think that it can be forced to try. It can sound forced. It can sound contrived to take a quote unquote Latin American style and translate it to the English language, or to take a British broadcasting style and try to translate it to a Major League Soccer match. That we have to find, and this is something that is such a blessing as an American, as someone who is an American sports broadcaster and an American soccer enthusiast. And I always get so fed up when people say, we need to determine what it means to be an American soccer mind, an American soccer fan, an American soccer broadcaster. And I'm sitting back going, why? We're the melting pot of the world. I mean, we're the ultimate cultural rainbow of the world. I mean, we have immigrant influence from every culture in this world present in this country right now. Why do we need to boil it down to one thing? And so my soccer broadcasting style, just for myself, is sort of this weird concoction of my upbringing, and which was this strange mix of Mexican, English, Irish, Scottish, and Basque, and it all rolls into one when I'm on the microphone. And I am who I am on the microphone, and Ramses Sandoval and Nico Contour, they're their own individuals on the microphone. My colleague down here with Cholos, Jordan Caruth, and Ivan Orozco, we're all individuals. And if every broadcaster from every culture sounded the same, it would be terrible. It would be lame.
So,
it would be mundane.
I
it
do
would
agree
be
that
boring.
I do agree that some of it does sound contrived. I absolutely agree, and I think that's what's turned off a lot of people. But I do think, to your point, as far as everyone being different, I do agree that. But I do think that, by and large, and speaking very generally, that there needs to be a style that needs to be a little bit more palatable.
No,
Now, personally, I think it's still a work in progress where the American broadcaster needs to find that happy middle ground or their own style to make it fit, because but I do think though.
Hey, Nate, I gotta be honest. Also, I haven't heard you broadcasting, so we should put that into context. Like I haven't seen your style.
Doesn't Chiquis have a clip?
Yeah, I got a clip of him.
Yeah, Chiquis, you have a clip, right?
Oh no, which clip?
I'm gonna put you on the spot, dude.
Spot or not, Javi Acertado pokes through. It's Malcora onside. Victor puts it down and save, and it's Joe Corona.
Oh wow, that's pretty nice.
Estadio Caliente. The San Diego man strikes again. Joe Corona, the man who scored the first top-flight goal for Los Cholos Cuitles of Club Tijuana. He scores the 6th of the night here on Friday, January 13th, 2017, on the night of history here in Baja California, the 200th game here in Estadio Caliente. What a moment for Joe Corona.
I hope that's.
Hey, Nate, did you ever watch the movie Necessary Roughness?
I have seen that movie. Yes.
Remember Rob Schneider?
I do indeed.
That's what you remind me of right there.
Thank you.
No, I'm kidding.
Thank you for that.
See, I thought that was
a compliment. That's a compliment.
I agree. I mean, I don't have a problem with English broadcasts, and I thought you did a good job in that example there as well.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
And I don't really necessarily agree with what Fernando's saying. I mean, I agree with you.
How often do you agree with Fernando?
Sometimes I do.
You know what?
Me and Fernando on the same side, but in this case,
he catches on quick.
My second point is what I wanted to go back to, and I heard what you stated, but I think Daniel and you live in San Diego, and a lot of you guys live in Joel lives in L.A. I live in Texas, and I grew up in Florida, so my perspective is not first generation Mexican Americans, but maybe second generation who don't have cousins and parents that speak Spanish. Or that maybe they live in Tennessee or in Montana or someplace like that, and they're not around Mexicans. They're not around people who like Mexican soccer or even soccer. They're around people who like basketball or LeBron James and things like that. And so that's what I see happening as generations pass.
Right, but you say people that are into American sports and into LeBron James. I mean, Carlos Vela is more into the NBA than he is into playing for Mexico. I mean, Chicharito Hernandez is more into J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans than he is into any other soccer player in the world. I mean, they're tied in. They're one and the same. It's multiculturalism. I mean, it's an example of multiculturalism that maybe doesn't translate to Montana or Wyoming, but certainly.
Big advantage that we have, Chiquis, that a lot of folks in this country don't have is that we're bilingual and we understand Spanish, understand English. So a lot of us have grown up where we only heard it in Spanish.
Yeah, and that's the core group that is going to be attracted to this. So I'm talking about the people.
But that's not entirely true. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, that's where I disagree. Also, I agree with John. Go on.
There's so much. This is a country that has, if I'm not mistaken, 330 million people, right? And not all of them are bilingual. A lot of them, I'm going to guess the vast majority of them, probably 90% of them speak one language, English. That's who this is for.
Chiquis, don't worry about it. The Pax Mexicana Televisión is coming to an end. There's going to be a shakedown there's going to be a shakedown of TV wars in Mexico that's ultimately going to affect the TV. That's how you see it here in the United
but
States.
Ron, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about.
Put your tinfoil hat on, man.
People are talking about Univision streaming, and a lot of people forget that Televisa has a stake in Univision.
Well, they're actually, in fact, they actually got approved like 2-3 weeks ago. How Televisa, because before there was actually a law that foreign television could not be a majority owner in television here in the United States. Well, that no longer applies. So Televisa is actually trying to become the majority shareholder. If not, they already are for Univision. But having said that, I mean, you know, after 2018, dude, it's going to go down. There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be some fights in the Mexican Federation.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, the time is now for Liga MX to pounce with this. The time is right for these networks to pounce, because we tie it back to Major League Soccer and with, you know, potentially Chicharito coming to LAFC, with a team coming to San Diego, with the president of Univision Deportes himself as a potential investor. The time is now, and Liga MX teams better wise up and realize that whether it's English-speaking Latinos or whether it's just the American audience at large, that the time is now for them to jump on this issue and start marketing big time to the English-speaking audience. Otherwise, and I love that you bring up the terms first, second, third generation. What's going to happen if Liga MX doesn't jump at this issue right now is a few years from now, you're going to have Major League Soccer basically commanding the second and third generation Latino market. It will happen over time unless Liga MX jump right now, which it seems like they may be doing.
I would have to disagree with you on that, the second and third generation, because there's still one little detail why many still won't convert, and that style of play. And if you go down the line, if you go down the list of Major League Soccer and you go down the coaches, most of those coaches are not possession-orientated coaching. So that to me is key.
That may be true, but I still think that second generation aren't gonna be interested unless their parents, like for example, Daniel's kids. He's gonna have to do some work.
I mean, no. What I'm saying,
wait. I'm glad you brought me up, because I'm a prime example of my dad put zero effort into making us like soccer.
You're in San Diego, man.
No, I grew up in LA. I've only been in San Diego for about 7 years. I grew up in LA.
That's the same.
It's probably actually worse. LA is actually more Mexican than San Diego. Unless you cross the border, of course. But you know, my upbringing though was 100% baseball, football, basketball. I had zero interest in soccer, probably up until it wasn't until I guess the '94 World Cup, where my Irish teacher and my Irish history teacher and my Spanish teacher just were constantly bickering about the World Cup. No, yeah, they were having at it all the time, and it got all of us interested in it. But it wasn't until then that I actually took an interest. It was just by chance.
You had that environment though, and
perhaps
so kids grow up. You're gonna have to do a good job teaching them and having them like that, like the game and all that stuff.
But I don't think so. Like ultimately, I don't think Univision is trying to recruit NBA fans. I think they're trying to recruit soccer fans who are just soccer fans.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, there's always going to be a fresh new crop of new fans that are following the sport, and a lot of them won't speak Spanish.
But also like the newer kids that are more like, newer, younger audience, I should say, that are more likely to watch.
I personally think it's a brilliant move.
Social media.
I think if the league is smart, they'll start doing their own broadcasting in English. If they're smart, they'll get more American players to just because I know personally, I tune in to watch MLS only to watch Gio.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, there's going to be a lot of American fans who are going to want to tune in and watch their American players.
Hey, Beto. So like for example, when you're watching a game and Liga MX game, and then like the halftime, and then you hear the commercials, and you hear those commercials like the sweet chat, like does that like bother you? Does it?
That annoys me.
Do you have anger issues?
Yeah,
When you
that
talk
annoys
about
me. But that's
It
sort of
triggers
like
him.
Ramirez, like John was saying in the World Cup. The World Cup.
Do we have that clip of that sweet chat there?
I don't have it. I can bring it up, but
Okay.
certain things annoy.
We need to bring this up. We
No,
need to
dude,
talk
I don't.
about this.
Yeah.
We're
Certain
gonna
things
lose
annoy me.
viewers if you play that.
But my point, and I'll stop talking after this last point. My point is that in the United States, soccer is not the number one sport. NFL and basketball are the number one sport. So I'm not saying I'm all for the English broadcasting, and I think it's a good idea. But to get droves and droves of soccer fans all of a sudden, I don't see that happening.
Well, hey,
they're not getting droves and droves because they're putting it on freaking
Liga
Facebook.
MX. I just want to say how grateful I am that you think it's a good idea. I just want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Look, the plan isn't to get droves and droves of fans. The plan is, I mean, they want to get only the hardcore soccer guys that like Liga MX and like finally I can watch it in English are gonna watch.
Hardcore soccer
raised
guys
in
is
Alabama.
actually that was my punk band that I started. No, I'm kidding, but yeah.
Beto, I thought you said you were raised in Alabama.
No,
You
man.
know?
Southern
Yeah.
Alabama is Florida, northern
okay.
Florida. So yeah, pretty much the same thing.
But Pensacola.
Yeah, near
But
Pensacola.
yeah, that's the one thing that you guys keep getting hung up on. They don't need to be getting droves. They just need to get. They just want more.
Right.
Hey, droves bring money, and that's what Mexican soccer wants.
Yeah, but so does more. More brings more money. Droves bring more, granted, but they're not. I think they're being realistic in the fact that they're not going to recruit a whole new fan base out of nowhere. They're going to be like those fringe people that are kind of like literally on the fringes. Grab those guys.
Guys, this is
bring
giving
them in.
it's giving it's giving fans of Liga MX something different, and that's something that drives me crazy with this debate. Is so many people I feel like don't realize the reason you hear that stat: Liga MX, the most watched soccer league in America. That is purely based on built-in cultural connections of people from family to family to family member to family member. And that accounts for like 50 million people who watch Liga MX. That's all that it is. It is purely built in. And that's what drives me crazier than anything is the fact that there's all this built in potential that then for years, ever since I was a little kid following this league as a little white boy in Watsonville, all the way to right now as I'm becoming a broadcaster in this league and everything that goes with it, there is such a minuscule amount of effort in terms of outside the box thinking. And quite frankly, it's hard to blame the Mexican league officials. It's hard to blame the people at any of the big networks over the years for going, God, we already got such a good thing built in. Why should we really mess with it? And now the impetus to quote unquote mess with it is being provided by everything that could happen with Major League Soccer over the next few years, with everything with the growth of soccer in America, everything with English speaking Latino audiences. There is all the more reason for this to happen now. And it's not going to be droves to begin with. It's going to be something different to begin with that could turn into a vast, beautiful cultural movement that I hope we are all an integral part of.
Have you guys? How many of you guys watch ESPN on a Saturday night?
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Whichever one of the family of ESPN.
Average Joe. What was it?
Yeah. Any of those. In their crawl, they have the Liga MX scores. ESPN does on like Saturday nights, on college football nights. So when Alabama's on TV, it says, Santos 2, Cruz Azul 0 on the crawl. So I mean, again, and folks like us, folks like Nate, and all the folks that you mentioned earlier, Nate, all the folks on the writers in California, and Tom, and all those guys, we've been giving Liga MX the publicity that they want in English trying to develop more fans for it because we like it, we know it's good. We're trying to. That's the message we want to let the rest of the country in on. Hey, you know what? There's a league that has been playing very good soccer for a very long time. That's just down the street. That hey, maybe if you guys like soccer, why don't you start watching some of these games? That's what they're doing. They're just introducing it to a new audience, but they have to do it slowly. Because if they wanted to do it wholeheartedly, they would put it on one of their channels. Right?
I'm in complete agreement. And again, it's going to be I think you're of age enough to remember a movie called What About Bob? Great Bill Murray movie, and it's all about baby steps. It's all about baby steps.
Come on, Nate. Let's not call John old, man. Be nice.
I didn't.
Hey.
If you heard the way I phrased that, I said I think he's of age.
By the way, What About Bob was Harold Ramis right now. Have you ever seen his writing list of credits?
He died recently, didn't he?
He did. He died a couple years ago. I mean, we really lost somebody there. I mean, if you get a chance, go to IMDb and look at all the movies that he wrote or co-wrote. It is impressive.
Baby steps, guys. Baby steps. I'm telling you.
Now, before we go, and we are with Nate Aburrea, which we thank for having on the show. It's been a lot of fun debating and charlando and do the whole bit with you. So thank you for joining us. But we do have to let Joel just gloat just a little bit. And then we'll get into the Super Clásico. So just Joel, do you want to gloat? Do you want to gloat, Joel, in English or in Spanish?
I've been doing it in English, John.
English? All right, here you go. Here you go.
The past 2 years.
Here you go. All right, Joel. So we'll let you gloat a little bit, and then we'll go right into the Clásico. So go ahead.
Actually, I have nothing to gloat about right now, John. I mean,
when the Clásico Tapatio. Let's just jump right in.
I'm not even feeling that confident. Chivas they haven't been a good team at home. Where
Chivas is on the road to Copa MX Campeonísimo, man. Hey. Come on, man.
But we're talking about
we're talking about the league here.
The league.
Yeah, no, at home they're just I don't know, man. It's Almeida's curse. He just can't win at home, at least not convincingly or establish, a good home field advantage.
So let me understand you, Joel. So if you were in Vegas, if you were at the craps table, and basically Chivas is up there rolling the dice, you would put money on them to throw the snake eyes.
Yeah, but you know what? I think America is going to be without their striker.
Could you walk up and bet against your team like that? Can you walk up?
No, I wouldn't bet against. Yeah. I never have. No, I see a tie coming up.
A tie. Goals or no goals?
Probably one.
It'll be a 4-4 goal tie.
No, I got the other one right against Santos. So.
Well, that was what you wanted. It was like your dream come true.
I've been pretty spot on with my predictions, as you know, John. Both
you have.
Having America and Tigres doing bad.
You've been right 52% of the time, Joel. That's been impressive.
52% of the time, I've been right all of the time.
Right. Right.
Yeah. No, so far for the league, I've been pretty spot on with Santos doing good, and then Cholos doing good. I knew they were gonna do good, and I expected America and Tigres to just have a rough start. Which is kind of funny. It's something we talked about earlier about crisis.
Yeah.
And America's only 6 points from first place, but it's somehow they're having the worst season ever.
Mostly they've already, Peláez has said it would have to take a total catastrophe for us to fire them. Which of course now La Volpe has been challenged. Oh, you want a catastrophe? Let me show you a catastrophe. He's the gauntlet has been thrown.
No, but yeah, I think everything would be, everything's in place for Chivas. It should be, at least for them to get a really good result against America, especially at home. But I just they baffle me how they are at home. And since I've been watching Chivas all these years, I've never seen them lose so many, not take advantage of so many games at home where they played with a man up or where they got penalty kicks and they still can win.
Even this game just now against Venados, the penalty.
Yeah, they were using the B
That
team.
wasn't a penalty.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
you
it was
say
on a
that
penalty.
that wasn't a penalty, or was it a penalty?
He took a dive. It was a clear dive.
Hey, but there's Chivas easily going in.
Well, it was a damn good dive. It took a dive because they totally sold me.
No, if just the number of penalties they've been getting the last couple seasons,
Well,
and red cards in their favor, it's been a lot, and to not be able to take advantage of that, it's kind of sucks.
Now we need to hear from the other side of the coin here, Hoa. So we need to bring in Ronnie. If he's still with us, I hope he is.
I'm here.
All right. So Ron, I got to tell you, this is a classic slump buster coming up.
Yeah, I think that Chivas is going to be the Gordi Guapa of the weekend. So I think that no, like I said, I don't buy the whole crisis crap. I mean,
not even a little bit.
I do.
No,
I buy it.
Oh man.
Dude,
I think
6 points from first place. How's that a crisis?
I got a bridge to sell you. Hey, Beto, I got the.
They got 11 games to play. This is all they have to do is make the top 8. That's all they have to do.
I get that, but they've looked especially bad. At least in my opinion.
They didn't have a preseason. Why am I defending America?
I think a lot of people, guys. I think so many people forget that Ricardo Lavolpe was brought into this team as a stopgap solution to begin with. He was brought into this team last year as a Band-Aid solution. And you know what happens when you put a Band-Aid on instead of really taking care of the wound is eventually you're going to need another Band-Aid. And I think this is the day. Saturday is going to be the day when the Band-Aid finally comes off. I think this is going to be the nail in the coffin for Lavolpe.
Day of reckoning for Lavolpe. Wow.
Am I wrong here to say if they lose, he gets the sack? I mean, it's 100%.
I don't think he will.
If they lose,
based on what Ronnie's saying,
who replaces him? Who replaces him?
Oh, who do you think? Who do you think?
Buse.
No. The Cabezon, man. The Cabezon has cleared his calendar. He is ready. He's waiting for.
You know who they've been targeting is Marcelo Gallardo, the River Plate coach.
Yeah.
El Muñeco. But Buse can't because Buse, if you coached during the season, you have to wait until the next one.
Yes, that's gonna be my boy, El Cabezon Luna.
El Bombero.
El Bombero.
Look, Peláez is not stupid.
Yeah,
he knows. Look, Lavolpe, he came in. He knows it wasn't his team and not his guys. So
exactly,
he's waiting for the summer. After the summer, when he brings in his crew and his players and stuff like that, I think that's when the criticism will be a little bit more fair.
But you know what, Ron? There's been already, and it's something I alluded to right here. John will back me up on this. There's been some shakeups going up at, with the directiva, and it's been between Peláez and Pepe Romano.
I brought that up. What was it, last week when I said that it obviously pissed off Peláez that they when the whole Marcelin went down.
Yeah.
They didn't I guess have the foresight to
tell them.
To tell them, hey, don't say.
Oh, by the way, we made a change for you.
Yeah. So I mean, it's obviously like that. But like I said, and one of the things that Lavolpe has mentioned a couple times was his tenure in Boca Juniors.
El fútbol algunas veces, en mi punto de vista, es como un ajedrez.
Where he brought the Boca Juniors his I mean, they went horrible for him, but one of the things that he did was right from the get-go, he started changing everything that Basile did, and everything that Basile did was working.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that little by little, Lavolpe, he's starting to change to his style. And obviously, you can tell that that he has improved the team in some ways. Obviously, when what's his name, Ambris was there and the coach before him, uh, they were a huge. I mean, they were hotheads. I mean, there was
But
disciplinary.
was Ambris was that the right move for him at that point in his career?
What's that?
Was that the right move for him at that point in his career? I mean, obviously you don't say no, but
he did win a cup, didn't he?
did he win a title?
I mean, he had experience, dude. I mean, he coached in Spain.
He won the Conca Champions, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. He won. He coached in Spain, or he was a sub. He was an assistant for what's his name, El Vasco. And I mean, the guy's.
Now, was it after that tournament, Ron, that you gave Nacho the ultimate compliment and you gave yourself the Nacho haircut?
No, I think Flaco Ten also has that haircut, if I'm not mistaken.
You could
No,
probably,
not Flaco Ten, not Flaco, el Capitan.
Capitan Furia. You can
Yeah,
you can cut glass with his haircut. That is as sharp a point as you'll ever see on a guy. So Ronnie, you're saying then America wins easily, huh?
No, I'm not saying they're going to win easily, but I'm just saying they're not in. I don't believe they're in crisis mode.
So are they gonna win?
I think so. I think they'll win.
And how many
without
Mexicans?
The striker, Ronnie.
What's that?
You're going to be without the. What is his name? Celso.
The new guy, Dominguez. That guy. Is it Cesar Dominguez or Cesarino Dominguez?
I think Chivas, they're going to go into the game inflados. I think that's what's going to happen.
Chivas is?
Yeah.
So you have them winning. I have a tie. Nate has Chivas winning.
I got Chivas winning.
You have
Where's the
Chivas
game at?
winning as well. It's at the Omni Zombie Life.
It's at the Estadio Chivas.
If you watch the game from America, they're generating plays. They're generating. I would be somewhat concerned if they weren't generating anything in the attack.
But at least recent history, though, Chivas has shown to be at least against America regular season.
That's right. They win the battles and
Kings.
then lose the war in the postseason.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry, Joel, but it's true.
But that's
it is true.
So Dan, are you pulling for a Chivas win then?
Not pulling, just predicting.
So you don't like Chivas, do you, Dan? You kind of.
I don't like either team, to be honest. I take pleasure in watching both lose. I'm a Santos fan, but I do, at least on my limited experience with both set of fans, I find Chivas fans more annoying.
Now has the rise of Cholos has it caused in California there to be more Cholos fans and Chivas fans or when Chivas wins, there's everyone going, I've been a Chivas fans the whole time.
I may not be the best person to speak on this, but my experience, everybody likes Cholos.
My take on this, being at the game back in late July of 2016, I think it was July 29th when that 4-0 win that Cholos had against Chivas, and it was the most opposing fans that I've ever seen at Estadio Caliente. That may change on April 7th when Club America come to town. That's going to be amazing, and as late into the season as that game can be, that could be a pivotal game in this Clausura season with Cholos playing America. But I think this is kind of best answered with just more of a broad point, and that is that there are so many in San Diego and Los Angeles. There are in Southern California as a whole. You think about how many fans of the Mexican game there are. I mean, you could make a claim that there is a fan of all 18 teams in Southern California somewhere. There's even an Atlas fan.
Well, that may be so. And I'm sure
really
that's
true.
the case.
He's really right, though. I mean,
The
So I think
Chivas is a.
well,
the
I want to
Chivas-
get
West
I want to
Coast
get
is
at
Chivas
something.
territory.
I want to get at something. Everywhere is Chivas territory. Chivas are the Mexican soccer version of the Dallas Cowboys.
Not in Texas.
They own. No, they in so many ways they're the Mexican soccer version of the Dallas Cowboys in many ways. However, what I'm getting at here is that one of the things with Cholos that is so cool, what has made so many people embrace Cholos, and when I say embrace Cholos, I'm talking about people who will never wear a Cholos jersey, who will never wear a Cholos hat, a Cholos scarf. They're people who are so grateful that Cholos exist because they give them a chance to see Chivas in person. Cholos is the only reason why all these Americanistas in Southern California are going to be able to see America play a league match in Tijuana in April. Think about in the city of Tijuana. I mean, Cholos have only existed for 10 years. Think about how many Chivas and America fans there are in TJ who are so grateful for when these teams come to town. That's one of the most underrated aspects of what Cholos have brought soccer fans, Mexican soccer fans in Southern California, is the notion that all the biggest names in the league, they all come here.
So-
they all come to play a game in Tijuana.
So Cholos is like a destination franchise in the sense that like there's a lot of folks that whether they come from San Diego, but I'm sure, like I said, all the Americanistas who live in California are gonna try and make the game.
Oh, they're going to be at that game, but I don't want to take anything away from the passionate following that Cholos have developed. Don't get me wrong; they are everything I said earlier still holds true. They are a San Diego team. They are the pride of Baja California. They are as localized as it gets, but there have been soccer fans. There have been millions of soccer fans over the years in Southern California who've been fans of Mexican teams and of the Mexican game for a lot longer than just the 10 years that Cholos have existed. And I think that's one of the coolest things. I remember talking to so many Chivas fans who lived in Tijuana, people who'd come across the border from San Diego saying, man, thank God for Cholos. Like I would have never been able to see. I would have been able to see Chivas in some whack ass overpriced friendly in some stadium playing for some cup that doesn't mean anything. But to actually see Chivas play in a league game,
How
to
much are
actually
tickets?
see Cholos tickets. Let me. I'm gonna have to actually double check on that. Not gonna lay out a price right this second.
No, but that's so true because I mean I know that other border towns, and I really don't think any other border town has the proper infrastructure to for the long term have a first division team. I know that Reynosa tried, and I know that what's the name Ciudad Juarez also had
I still
their
think there's potential there. By the way,
Yeah, I do too. Juarez is
I don't see it. That I mean they've been trying to do this since the late '80s.
yeah. The problem is that there's no real big dual side other than El Paso and Juarez in Texas.
So, I mean, like I said, I think that's San Diego and TJ are very lucky to have each other. I mean, for Reynosa, it's McAllen.
The Reynosa McAllen metropolitan area. You don't know about the great soccer history of Reynosa and McAllen.
Nothing against. I love the Valley. I love going to the Valley. It's my favorite place. It is my second choice to live in Texas.
It's like the Valley, right? In the past past decade or so, it's been hit hard financially.
but that's what I'm saying. Juarez and El Paso are. I mean, I've been to El Paso. It's not the biggest of cities, but I think it's big enough.
But see, but the big problem with Juarez and El Paso is as far as what you guys are describing in San Diego and Tijuana, the fact that you have massive population centers not too far from San Diego and Tijuana. You don't have that in El Paso. It's just Juarez and El Paso, and that's it. There's, nothing for 500 miles.
I mean, for another border town to have a first division, I think the closest team that they would have to have, like the MLS, would probably be San Antonio.
Yep.
And they're not the border town.
Yeah, they're 150 miles away.
Exactly. So I mean, I really just don't see any other border town. I don't think they have I don't think any other border town has the proper infrastructure, I should say. And let's also face it. Some of these towns, they're still baseball. They're still baseball, more baseball than football.
Well, Tijuana, it's funny. I love that point because many people, you talk to the locals down in Tijuana,
Tomateros.
many people still look at Tijuana as a baseball city. You know, Tijuana was not a soccer city for a long time. Tijuana was actually a baseball city. It still has a fascinating baseball culture.
You
with
can probably
Tijuana?
say that.
Was it
probably say
Tijuana or
that about the
Mexicali?
entire north of Mexico.
Well, I was
it
going to say,
Mexico?
oh my God, if you want to get into Mexicali, you want to get into Mexicali, you want to get into
But didn't they just play in the Serie del Caribe? It wasn't in Mexicali, or was it the Tijuana team that played in the?
That was no. The Tijuana team is actually, funny enough, not in the top flight. They did not play in the Mexican Pacific League. The team from Mexicali that just made the Caribbean World Series, or just made the finals there is that was the
By the
Mexicali
way,
squad. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everybody out in Mexicali.
Baseball, just the sport of baseball as a whole, is missing out on a massive opportunity to play a winter tournament with the World Series champions and the Dominican champion and the Puerto Rican champion. Because I got to tell you, those would be some. If you like that would be some good stuff, and it's unfortunate that they don't have
they're good games, man.
the wherewithal. They're
good
very
games.
entertaining, and they're
Well, the team,
competitive.
I mean, when you're talking about Mexicali, you're talking about a team that packs about 14 to 15,000 into a stadium for every single home game. I mean, every game is sold out. It's the marquee event. You go down even in Sonora, and we talk about the northern desert cities of Mexico. I mean, baseball is the game, and so it's actually a very fascinating history in TJ of the game of baseball, and something that everybody should look into. And there is a great relationship. The Toros, who are basically the Mexican baseball equivalent of like a AAA team here in the U.S. The Toros and Cholos have a great working relationship and do all sorts of cross promotion and all sorts of cool stuff. So I mean, it's so funny. We harp on cultivating soccer minds out of American sports fans. How do we that term, the soccer convert? Many of those same struggles, I mean, the people at Cholos had to go through to get soccer to become fully mainstream in Tijuana with the baseball community.
Nate, I work with a native Tijuana guy. He, born and raised in Tijuana, works in San Diego, worked with me for a couple years in San Diego, and not very much into soccer. He's very much a baseball guy. So it is interesting how a lot of them, a lot of people in Tijuana who grew up without soccer, with the proximity of San Diego, just gravitated toward football and baseball as opposed to soccer.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. Yeah.
But you know what, Dan? A lot of people, at least way back, I'm going way back when, I live in Tijuana because I used to have family down there, and they used to be able to get the San Diego feed for television. So a lot of them would grow up watching American stuff, like even like with wrestling.
So they have to become Chargers fans. So that's
and Macho Man fans.
No, yeah, I would go visit my cousins and I'll turn on the TV.
That's
and
savage, man. That's savage.
I wanted to see, their version of stuff, and I'm watching WCW or whatever, and I was like, wait.
Hey, Ronnie, are you old enough to remember the Von Erich brothers?
What's that?
Are you old enough to remember the Von Erich brothers?
Yeah, I do. I remember.
Okay. Didn't one of them die in the ring?
Man, this podcast just got dark.
Yeah, the royal family of Texas wrestling, the Von Erich family.
I just remember one of them. He had like a hurricane punch. Just spin in a circle before he punched you in the face.
I thought that was Super Macho Man in Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah, it was similar to that.
That's funny.
It was. No, but I think that's also part of it, just the proximity to the U.S. So I think, had that cultural effect in TJ where, a lot of the stuff was like they were more influenced.
Well, obviously, things are starting to change. And isn't the racetrack there too? The old racetrack? Isn't that right next to the stadium?
The old racetrack, the old dog racing track. Talk about old school. Yeah, the Greyhounds. They're
It's
right
been there for like
next door.
100 years, right? I mean, it's been there.
It's one of the oldest gambling racetracks and all of the land. There's definitely and the Caliente Casino is right there. The racetrack is right there. The stadium's right there. There is a flowing nostalgia in play at all times, but it all ties back to the present moment. Anytime that opening whistle blows inside Caliente, whether I'm on the broadcast microphone or just in the stadium, nostalgia goes out the window and it turns into a battle for the present moment and for those 90 minutes and it is as good of a soccer atmosphere as there is for far and wide down here with what we have at Estadio Caliente.
And they sell out consistently, right?
Every home game in the league, at least the Copa MX games, there's definitely some empty seats. But as far as league games, every game is sold out and just packed to the rafters, and it's incredible to be a part of.
What kind of weather does TJ get?
That's awesome. That is awesome.
It varies. I would say a similar climate to that of San Diego, a rather friendly climate.
It gets rain.
Definitely gets rain from time to time.
So why do they play on a rug?
John, I am not able to
because Ron's a cheap bastard.
All right.
Sorry, did I say that? The Ron family.
That may have come out there. Hey, look, I got told by Joel I was coming on the Cantina podcast. I didn't realize people were gonna literally be getting into the Cantina style.
We've been on for 2.5 hours. I think. No, I'm just kidding.
For about 2.5 hours. Yeah, no, things are gonna start coming out here. No, hey. As far as the artificial turf surface goes at Estadio Caliente, I'm not a huge fan of it. I am a soccer purist. I do not believe that soccer should ever be played on artificial turf. Grass is where it should always be played, whether it's muddy grass, whether it's perfect putting green grass, it should be played on grass. And I'll never forget one of the first times that I stepped foot in Estadio Caliente and I was down on the field and they were watering. They were watering the turf. They were spraying these hoses all over the turf. And I asked somebody, I said, why are they watering the turf? And the guy looked at me and said, the guy looked at me, so it grows right. And I said, okay, there you go.
No true words have been spoken. No, I mean, the reason I ask is it, I understand having artificial surfaces when you're in climates where it's going to be very hard to grow grass consistently. But that's not the case in Tijuana. So that's why I've always wondered why that is. So
Is,
I don't know
is there any other teams that have it, John?
It is the only. No, Jolie, it's the only artificial surface in Liga MX.
Because Chivas had it too, and
yeah, Chivas had it for a while.
It took Johan Cruyff coming down and one of his last great feats.
Yeah,
that's one of the changes.
Well, Cruyff's parting shot.
Yeah.
Vergara got a lot of criticism for that because he was talking about ordering the most, top of the line, most expensive turf.
Yeah, importing it from England too.
And it ended up being one of the cheapest brands and stuff like that. It was like a level 2 when it was supposed to be like a level 5 or something like that. Typical Vergara,
So Joel, you still say draw. Ronnie says win. Nate says Chivas. Cheeky says Chivas. Dan, you said draw, or did you say Chivas? I forget.
Chivas.
Fernando, you with us still?
I think we know where he's going though.
I'm here.
Yeah. You going Chivas or you going America, Fernando?
He's going Almeida.
I think they're gonna tie. 4-4.
Really? 4-4.
4-4. Wow.
That'd be.
Hey, Pern, when's the last time Chivas scored 2 goals?
I don't know, man. You should tell me.
It was like 1994 when it went. It's been a while.
No, the Chivas scoring has been pretty. It's not what it should be for the amount of money they spend on.
Well, that's why they're
He's saying Pulido's going to get a hat trick.
I think only the first game of the season.
A long range shot.
Beto, have you been keeping up with their Instagram accounts?
Yeah, every now and then I'll see Pulido. Not too interesting as of late, but I think he's single. So
does he post more pictures after he scores, or after he scores?
I think it's evenly paced, not taking into account his goals.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you just don't know because he hasn't scored.
He scored against Boca, dude.
Like I said. Well, I think I'm.
But
I think it's going to be America that wins it. I think that they're going to. Well, I can't believe I just said that.
The only way I can think that Chivas wins this is they're still flying high from their impressive cup that they just recently won against Boca Juniors.
The Titans of the continent.
Yeah, yes. I mean that was an impressive title. That was just impressive, and it was just amazing.
Do you think Boca would have accepted that trophy?
Look, the pressure amounted to so much that you have Boca players fighting each other in practice.
Did that happen before or after the Chivas game?
That was after. I mean, that's it happened.
Well, it's because the humiliation was so severe.
The humiliation of the Titans of the continent.
That's right, losing the Chivas in such a
prestigious
important
affair.
Yeah.
That their fans didn't get to watch. Because
no,
the streaming service failed.
Vergara used to fly Boca in his Omni Life jet, huh?
That was a long time ago, Ron. You're opening old wounds.
Now, is it true that the Chivas TV was doing a preventa of 50 pesos, which is like $2.50 for the game?
Yeah.
So this is really their big test for Chivas TV to see how they do.
Oh man, I just realized. Wait, is this game at the Omni Life?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get to see it. It's in Univision.
Yeah.
It's
going to be on Chivas TV, but that's my question. I mean, they're going to have Chivas TV, right? And I'm guessing one of their goals of Chivas TV was to market it in the States where people pay to have. And then Univision is going to put it on Facebook Live in English for free.
For free. Nah, John, I think we all know what. I think the whole Chivas TV thing was just to break away from Televisa. I do think.
So you think it was a designed buffer?
It was. I mean, all their players are coming from Grupo Pachuca. All the business, even Chivas TV is getting help now from Claro TV, and sometime this year, Slim is gonna start Nuestro TV, and it's obviously he's marketing as the Mexican.
Hey guys,
Mexican TV channel in the U.S. and I'm pretty sure he's gonna get the TV rights for it.
Hey, listen, before we continue, we do want to say goodbye to Nate. He does have to run. Nate Aburrea, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me inside the cantina. I look forward to returning for a drink or two soon.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. Nate Aburrea joins us here on the CantinaMX. He is the English language voice of the Azteca America TV broadcasts of the Cholos home games in San Diego. So really appreciated Nate's point of view and his input and his opinion and the information that he gave us tonight. So it sounds like someone is really just cooking up a hot drink. I hear a bunch of glasses chinking. Sounds like somebody has like tried some sort of experiment, like a suicide drink. Let's put it all in and see what happens.
It's too bad. I wanted to ask him whether at one point if he thought the U.S. is going to qualify, since he is a fan.
Well, I think that the U.S. is in a very bad position right now. Therefore, we. Oh wait, that was for Nate. Okay.
You can answer, Fernando. So you think the U.S.
Yeah, go ahead.
By all means.
No. That's okay. I leave it. Nate. He has the con.
No, Nate's done. Nate's
Nate's
stepped
gone,
off.
man. He's
He's
no
still
con
there.
there.
I still see his little thing, but
Yeah, he's still there.
He
Oh,
says,
he's still there?
he says the U.S. will
Yeah,
qualify.
so-
Do I have to like just sneak back in here and just drop this in? Just did I just pull like the ultimate like I'm a stand-up comic waiting for my encore right
well, that's
there?
what. Yeah, exactly.
Here it
but
is.
you were
This is
leaving
your
and you
encore,
heard the
man.
last call
We
for
turned
alcohol.
on the
Oh,
lighters.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the most flattering appearance on a show ever. Okay, we'll leave with this. We'll leave with this. They will qualify. They will qualify via a final day of the hexagonal goal from Miguel Layun against Panama that will be the ultimate returning of the favor of Sanzusi in 2013. And the U.S. will sneak in to the final qualification spot in CONCACAF, and it will all come full circle, and Christian Martinoli can scream all over again. Or maybe it'll be me screaming this time for the USA, saying, "God bless Mexico. We love you forever and ever." There you go.
Third or fourth place.
I would happily take third at this point.
All right. Well, thanks
Okay,
a lot.
I'm
man.
leaving now.
All right.
Love you all.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nate.
No encores. No more encores.
All right, the lights are coming on. It's time for everyone to go home. So no, that was good. That was a good conversation. We should have folks like that on more often. It definitely adds to. Well, I'll be honest. It makes us look good. It gives us a little more street cred. So we certainly enjoy it when we have folks on. We need to get Random Guy back on too. When is Random Guy going to join us again?
When he's, the thing was that the show was not going to happen. No one was coming on. No one was confirming, and we were watching the game, me and Chiquis, and so we invited
You invited
Ismael
Random Guy.
to join us while we watched the game, and all of a sudden everyone came on, and the show just went live. And
No, he was terrific. It was definitely good radio. It's interesting what it's interesting what Nate said about how Cholos really want San Diego to have an MLS team, and it makes a lot of sense. And I do think that if Liga MX really wants to grow their teams here in this country, they have to join themselves at the hip to MLS just to get more exposure. They have to. And a way to do that is to play these cups.
You don't think that?
I think that's the epitome of Molero.
Me too.
Well, but I'm not talking
because
about the preseason. I'm talking about an in-season.
I think
one-off.
But what I'm talking about is that I think MLS needs to beat a Mexican team in CONCACAF.
they came close, right, when
Real Salt Lake.
Tosas was at America with what was it, the Toronto?
Then yeah.
Man, you're right. It was Cecilio Dominguez Joel. Man, that was. I think he's not going to make it. I think he separated his shoulder. Yeah.
See,
wow.
But I think by and large, a lot of Mexican fans don't see the MLS teams as real competition until they're able to compete on an official on an official capacity.
No, I know, but it'll happen. I mean, I think if we don't help the region grow, we're not doing ourselves a favor by
exactly.
And we should learn from that mistake way back where Mexico was kind of snobbish, just kind of looked down upon the region. And what ended up happening, you ended up having like Chuck Blazer and Jack Warner just taking over CONCACAF, and in Mexico to do whatever they wanted.
I know they used to wreck us.
Yeah,
but it's not like
now we need press permission.
But it doesn't look like Mexico exactly respected the region anyway. I mean, if they had it up, if it were up to them, they'd be sending the A team to Copa America, and they would be sending their best teams to Copa Libertadores.
No, but still, it's grown. It's grown to where Now we do have a pretty good cup tournament with the Gold Cup compared to before, and there's also the club tournament. Before it used to be like they used to do it over 2-3 days at a venue, you know. So I mean, it's been growing. It's just it hasn't been that long, but we see like in South America, some of the ways some of these countries benefited was having the proximity and having all these rivalries like Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, being able to play each other often.
The other thing MLS needs to do is they need to do the short seasons to break up their calendar better.
That was another question that I was wondering about that I would have liked to have asked him is the league really ready to grow that by that much?
I personally don't think so, and
me neither.
And what I do, and I did ask that question, or make that point as far as, that's putting a lot of pressure on the NCAA to come up with, a roster full of guys, and I don't think that they're up for the challenge. Number one. Number two, I think what it does do is I think that it presents an opportunity for a lot of players from that maybe aren't getting looks on the teams in Mexico to find a place to play where they will play. And it's funny because Joel and I talked about this like 6 months ago, Joel, and Jorge Campos at the coaches convention apparently was quoted by saying the exact same thing that Joel and I had discussed 6 months ago, that if the 10-8 rule continues the way it is, that the younger players that aren't getting the looks are going to look elsewhere. And one of the places they're going to look is MLS, especially with all those new teams. I mean, that was if I find the quote, I'll find it. But I'm paraphrasing what he was saying.
Borghetti, I think, said recently that in about a few years there's not going to be any Mexican forwards at all. I forget what the exact quote was, but
geez, there's barely any now. I mean, seriously. I mean, they have to call the guys they call because no one else. There's no one else.
So what's the issue? I mean, it seems like the youth teams are doing a really good job developing good youth. It seems all the positions are being filled except for that one.
It's I don't know. It's just.
I mean, not even from a youngster perspective. You're not really seeing anybody.
But you know what? But I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. I mean, this has been going on for as long as I've been watching.
Yeah, but the argument's always been that it's been the foreigners' fault that they're not giving enough chances. But I mean, it's not like we're seeing anybody exactly raising their hand.
I mean, I think it's a lot of times that we see the guy Mekis, and we think that just because maybe other national teams do better, like obviously their leagues must be very strong. But if you look at the Spains and the Englands, I mean they go through the same thing. I mean there's just maybe one or two national players on their teams as well. I mean they. Spain had such a problem filling forwards that they just decided to play without one in the Euro 2012, and they won. So I don't think it's anything that should be a surprise. It's been going on for, like I said, it's been going on for as long as all of us have been watching. But four teams. That's like 100 players. That's a lot of players. That is a lot of play. That's a lot of roster spots available for guys that may not have opportunities elsewhere. It's a Clasico weekend. We should, if we're around, maybe we should do a post Clasico microcast. If y'all want.
I don't know about post, John. I could do in-game.
In-game. Ooh, that sounds interesting, Joel.
Because, I mean, it's in it at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
7
Joel,
p.m.
Would you be able to maintain your a level of of calm during the match?
No, yes, I'm pretty calm when watching games.
Yeah.
I think Ron is the one that gets a bit emotional.
He has mentioned that he has punched the wall several times after an America lost.
That's stuff also.
Stab. It's stab. Get it right.
You stab somebody?
No, my wall.
Did you
I
kill a
stab
man?
it.
He stabs the wall.
What about the mattress? The mattress works good.
Ron killed a man after an America lost. So.
He stabs the mattress also.
Yeah, no, John, I'm at the point that I've seen my team lose some very important games where it's numbed the pain.
Really?
You know?
So you're totally desensitized to it.
I become desensitized. I'm already like, maybe like probably the closest I've come to really like getting like really sad was the qualifiers when Mexico was they were eliminated for like 2 minutes.
Yes.
From the World Cup. That got to that point that I just thought of missing the World Cup.
Okay. Everybody be honest. In those 2 minutes, at what point did Josh say, man, they're never going to let me hear the end of it?
I did.
How many?
I thought it.
Oh, man.
I thought a lot of things.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's just like more
Fernando, Senator?
shock and disbelief.
Senator? Joel, did you think that?
No, I did, certainly. But yeah, but no, I mean, Chivas losing, losing finals or even Libertadores finals or anything else is, I mean, it sucks, but, there'll be another game.
Joel, I remember you telling me this is back. We're going back to '96, or not '96. So we're going back to 2006 when Chivas was before the game in La Bombonera, and I remember for the title, and I remember you telling me that. You said that if Chivas loses, you were going to take a break from watching football.
Oh, that was and I did. That was for when they played Inter.
No. This was when they played Toluca when
they won.
Yeah, when they won.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Toluca had been Chivas Coco, man.
Yeah.
And they even started winning the game with Marioni scored the opener, and I was like, oh no. Yeah, no, yeah. I did. I remember Libertadores, and they had Bofo and Cheech, and the team makes the final of the Libertadores, and because this was when it was the Fiebre Porcina, and Mexico threatened to quit the Libertadores because the one Chilean team was.
Oh, because they had the swine flu.
Yeah, but the Chilean team was they were just being sneaky because
they didn't want to go to Guadalajara.
No, well, many countries offered to host. Costa Rica offered to host the game. I think some Uruguayan club, and the Chileans were like, nope, we just want the points, and CONMEBOL caved in. They awarded the game to the Chilean side, and that's when Mexico said, you know what, thank you, but we're out. And then they ended up making some changes, so they allowed Chivas for the next tournament to qualify in the finals,
in the knockout rounds.
Yeah, in the knockout rounds, and it was like I don't know what was going on, because like if you're given that chance, you think you're gonna try to bring in some players to strengthen the team. They even let you.
It's in the bylaws.
They even let you bring get refuerzos from other teams, and it's like they didn't care. They didn't even try anything, and the team ended up making the final, and that was just heartbreaking.
You know, that's one of the things that they used to do back in the days in the Copa Libertadores, where they used to let the champion and some of the top clubs just go in at the just at the knockout stages. I mean, that's why you have teams like who is it? Is it San Lorenzo? No, Independiente. Well, it's one of the big five in Argentina that they have like 7, Copa Libertadores titles. It's not Boca, it's not River, it's another one. I forget. It's like
Estudiantes.
I think so. I think you're right. Estudiantes. Yeah, you're right. There's actually a pretty cool. In fact, what was it? Bilardo. In fact, he played for Estudiantes. There's actually a video on YouTube about, if I'm not mistaken, it's Estudiantes versus Celtic, because when they used to play the Intercontinental,
right?
And I mean, there's no love lost there, man. It was a battle.
Well, I got to tell you, the way that
they had no respect for each other. I mean, wow. Like if you go back to if you watch, and you can watch the games in their entirety, but if you go back to the '66 World Cup and you watch the battle, it's called the Battle of Santiago. It's a game between Chile and Italy.
It was in '62 because it was in Chile.
That's right. In '62, and it's called the Battle of Santiago. And you watch the video, dude. It was a Royal Rumble, and it all started from the press. The Italian press just basically insulting Chile, and it's just spawned from there. And I mean, things probably got taken out of context, but it didn't matter. Damage was done.
I would love it if the World Cup, FIFA just decided to have, that like put their ridiculous stadium requirements aside, and obviously, I'm speaking very. Making a big wish here, but just go back to just playing tournaments in the countries that have the stadiums and just play the tournament. You don't have to build anything. Just what you got's what we're going to use.
Yep.
And that's why I like Copa America so much. It's because they play all over South America, and you get to see the different style of stadium, and I think that's kind of cool. That's why I like the old FIFA games on Xbox back in the early 2000s, where they'd have the different venues, like the Olympic Stadium venue and the like the South American venue, like the English Cottage venue, and then like the bigger Euro Stadium. And it was very very cool. Well, gentlemen, I guess we should wrap it up here. We're pushing our time limits here on the CantinaMX podcast, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good show, and maybe we'll see about doing our live show during the Super Clasico. It should be a lot of fun. Joel, I hope that for both you and Ron, I hope things work out for you this week. One of y'all is going to be happy. One of y'all, or maybe you both will be happy, or maybe you both will be sad. I don't know.
I think that empate would benefit both teams.
So, Chiquis, thanks for setting all this up, and thanks for getting the information over to Nate, our special guest. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I got a outro clip to play.
Oh, okay.
When the time comes.
All right, excellent. Daniel, glad you could make it.
Pleasure as always, guys.
I forgot to ask Nate about Choros and their game against the Pumas this weekend. I should have seen where his heart was there on that one. Fernando, I know that you've been under the weather, but we do appreciate you taking the time, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
No problem, man. It was a pleasure for you having me.
I think the worm has turned for your team. I think that you're going to start seeing your team play up to its potential.
Wonder if it was the what's it called? The psychologist doing some therapy sessions. I don't know.
Well, when they get the win streak, we'll have to put you on it. You can come back and give us a full report.
Good.
Joel, always a pleasure. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, John. Hopefully we'll get to do that in-game podcast.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Ron, always glad to get you on. I'm glad you were able to join when you did.
Thanks, Jeff. It was fun.
Hey, what was the name of that book, Ron? That you said it was el Libro de Oro del Fútbol Mexicano?
Yeah, it's the author's Juan C. de Mulet.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say 1984 by George Orwell.
Is it still in print or?
No, it's actually the book. I have the book, but it's extremely hard to get. I mean, it's you could probably find it in Mercado Libre. I've seen it in Mercado Libre for like $1,000, $750.
Jeez.
2,000 bucks. It's for a Mexican soccer aficionado that really likes it. I highly recommend it. I would pay the money.
Yeah. If I just paid you like $20, would you just make a photocopy of yours and I'll read that?
That's fine. No, but I am telling you, dude, that is. I don't know why someone hasn't translated it yet.
Really?
I mean, this book goes into so much detail, and it breaks down like fútbol tapatío, fútbol jarocho, fútbol de Hidalgo. It breaks it down by state. It tells you who all the teams were, how they formed. The only thing that does it's not a statistics book, so I mean it's not
right.
There's another good book for stats from Isaac Wilson, but the one about the history of Mexican soccer, bar none, the best. It is just so informative.
Well, hopefully, like I said, you'll. No, that does sound very interesting, and that's I'm always fascinated with how. I've always liked the show. You ever watched the show Connections by the James Burke show?
Yeah.
So that's why I love something because I love seeing the connections of how things end up being the way they are. It just fascinates me. So that book is I'm very interested in getting a copy of that book. I'm going to see if I can find it somewhere.
If the First World War wouldn't have broken out, we would have probably kept an English, a Scottish style of play. But
that's true because in World War I, Mexico ended up signing with the Germans.
Well, what happened is that the Scots, the English, and all them, they went back to obviously to Europe.
Oh, well, right. Well, that makes sense too.
And then during the Spanish Civil War, that's when a bunch of the Spaniards and people from the Basque countries and other countries. So at one point it was actually a more English influence than Spanish influence.
Right. Which is also the case of what happened in South America as well.
Well, they kept a lot more English influence than Mexico did. I mean,
yeah, there's no question.
I mean, when you see the teams like O'Higgins and obviously
Newell's Old Boys.
Yeah, Newell's Old Boys and stuff like that. So they kept more. They did keep a lot of the English.
I mean, River Plate, for God's sakes.
Yeah. I mean, Mexico didn't. I mean, really, other than Pachuca, really none of the teams, are English in that regards. They're mostly Spanish or from.
Yeah, the majority were Spanish. You see, like the stadium Nou Camp.
Yeah.
And then you had the other one. That's que le llamaban a las. What's the other one? El Blaugrana. Azulgrana.
Nemesio Diaz.
Yeah. But yeah, you had Asturias, and you had Club España and stuff like that.
Right. Well, we'll be looking out for that. So we'll see if we can do this again on Saturday night. We'll let y'all know if it happens. But thank you to everyone for listening to the CantinaMX podcast. As it's last call, apparently everyone's leaving. I just heard the door close, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week. I'm John Jagu. Y'all have a good night.
Since Nate brought it up.
Estados Unidos! We love you! We love you forever and ever! God bless America, doctor! Estados Unidos nos mete la reclasificación! ¡Estados Unidos! Ustedes los que